All right. I'm gonna put you in gallery mode real quick, but all right. So this is something real special, y'all. So I have been working on this thing, of course, behind the doors, which is a little bit different than what the doors is, because the doors is again the developers of our own opportunities through inventing our own success. But I like to get in these deep conversations and really build some repertoire and talk about some really interesting things that sometimes people don't get to talk about, you know? And so that's what this is all about. And I got my boy right here. DJ needs some milk.
DJ needs some milk. DJ needs some milk.
Exactly. This is my boy, George Bezold. George
What's up,
is a man of many talents. I did cheerleading with him.
I try to be. Jack of all trades, master of none. Yeah, I try to be. I usually fail the first few times.
All right. Tell just what. So how you been, man? What you been up to? What's?
I've not been doing too bad. It's sitting at home for the past 10 months, pretty much.
Yeah. So we've been working at home from this pandemic the entire time.
Yeah. So they sent us home in about March of last year, and they've been constantly pushing the return to the office date back. Pretty standard in the business community, especially up here.
I know that's sense.
Yeah, some of the people that I work with on the other side of the aisle in terms of my clients are already back in work, depending on where they are. Like we work with some people out of Georgia who are back in the office, and it's just really odd states that are kind of back to work in a traditional sense, right?
Yeah.
Florida, Georgia, you would kind of expect, but like Ohio is back in the office, and it's like, some of our clients back up here are back in the office, but our firm specifically, I think, is taking it pretty cautiously.
That's smart, honestly, because like Georgia and Florida. I mean, I visited Florida for a couple of times because I have friends down in Florida because I cheered down at Top Gun, and man, up in the Panhandle back when everything really started getting shitty. I'm guessing like around August. Like June and August, around there.
Yeah.
Like Panama City Beach, no one gave a shit. And
I saw those videos, and I was
there. I was like, I don't want to be in this.
Right. I'm not personally worried about it, but I've kind of respected that people are. I think it's foolish. I think it's foolish in most cases. But I respect that people are. But yeah, even if you aren't susceptible to it, at this point, I might be willing to let myself get it, but back when we weren't really quite sure what was going on.
Well, even now, like I had it. Yeah, like, I got it. I'm a young adult. Like it's not it's not anything that's going to be harmful to me. Like it wasn't harmful to me. Like I was stuck at my brother's and his girlfriend's house, and now his fiance, for like 2 weeks, which was great. I got to spend time with them. At the same time, I didn't want to go back and like get my dad and my stepmom and all these other people sick. Like
and I'm kind of in a unique position where like I don't have I can sit at home all day, literally all day. Like this entire week I've gone outside one time. Not incredibly healthy, and there's a lot of people are struggling with that, and I would be a liar if I said that I wasn't. But in terms of exposing other people, for me specifically, me and Cora, my fiance specifically, we are really the only two. She is the only other person that I see consistently. We'll have friends over, and we'll go over to friends' houses just to see each other and socialize. She sees more people than me because she nannies part-time. Yeah. But we are so.
I'm gonna turn this light off. Keep going.
We are so kind of closed boxed in terms of our socialization group that it doesn't really matter if we got it or not. So we're kind of in a unique position in that part. But for people that are kind of like going to multi-generation family households, that's a bigger issue.
I mean, I think that it's so specific for the case. Like
it is oddly specific. I mean, we have like nobody up here that is, because my family is all like 6 hours away in Milwaukee. So I couldn't even see my parents regularly if I
there's
wanted
no
to.
reason, and
Just,
there's no reason to go and do that. And like I think
No.
it's such. I think we're gonna learn a lot from all this, which is great. Like I think this is a real shitty environment, but like at the same time, I think that like this is the most modern, real pandemic that we've had to deal with. I don't think we learned a lot from the swine. What is it called? Pig
Swine flu.
In
Yeah,
I'm talking about 1905.
The Spanish flu.
The Spanish flu. I don't think we learned enough.
I think that's 1905.
It is. And I don't think we learned enough from it in our modern time to really even jump into something like that where we can use it for modern applications, And when we get to something like this, like I feel like it could have been a lot worse. It could have been a lot easier, but at the same time, like it gives so many unknown factors that we can't really do anything about it. And like,
yeah.
I mean,
the problem is like we have a pretty decent understanding of it now. I mean, we've had the entire globe. There's scientists, whether they wanted to be focused on it or not, have had to, right? In the medical field,
I just spilled Coke on myself.
You got a hole in your mouth. That's a symptom of COVID, guys. Dribbling on yourself.
Luckily, I got napkins right here. Oh
yeah.
My gosh.
But what I was saying was like any scientist that is in the field of medicine or even reasonably adjacent to medicine, any professional in there has had to deal with the ramifications of this. So we understand it a whole lot more than people are wanting leading on to be and actually practicing in their daily lives.
Yeah.
Right. Because we were like before we were talking about I mean, you're bringing a disease that has an incredibly high survival rate. Even if you get it for a young person into the homes of, especially if you're living, like I said, in a multi-generational home, that creates some problems. However, if we gotta get serious about this, we can't. I know in my group of friends alone up here that a lot of people, including myself, really have been dealing with like the stress and the mental anguish of just sitting at home all day and being told that you can't go out and do anything. You can't go do anything normal. I can't imagine. And I have a job. I literally could sit at home every single day and do my job.
Yeah.
For those people that don't have like an education like I do, and people that are, what about college students trying to pay their way through college? What about high school students that are looking for a job before they go to college?
Yeah.
What about a non-degree holder that needs to work as a waitress or a waiter or a bartender or something like that? You're ruining these people's lives. You really are. And I mean, and that's like, where the science and the social aspect of it kind of like it doesn't match up. And it goes state to state, which is the weirdest thing.
Well, I mean, again, in Georgia, like right now, like of course, like the area I'm in right now, it's called Pickens County. Like we're getting ramped up on like the types of coronavirus and things like that. But at the same time, like our restrictions in Georgia are a little bit less. Luckily, we've been running at half capacity. We're not doing anything crazy. Like, luckily, I work at a restaurant that allows me to make money. But like, I think Georgia, Florida people, they just got a mindset where it's almost a little more reckless. Like they don't give a shit.
Well, especially the young kids. The young kids in states such as those are probably definitely taking more risks than young kids in states like Minnesota, states like Pennsylvania, stuff like that. I'm sure that kids in those states are taking more risks than the kids are here.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter because chances are, I mean, everybody's been cooped up. So chances are they're probably not going to get it. And even if they do.
See, here's my mentality is that everyone's going to get it at least once. Like,
right. And I was like, even before I said like, I'm willing to give it to myself so I could just be good. Like, hey, I got that shit.
That's what I've been like. It's like, I got it. I'm immune for 90 days, supposedly. That's where
I think it's supposed to be even longer than that.
Well, I mean, even I guess for even a young, healthy person, like here's another thing. Like, does the vaccine, if I have already gotten COVID, do I need the vaccine and why would I need it?
I cannot imagine that you would. I don't know why you would subject your body to it twice.
I don't know either. I'm just saying, like, these are the things that I'd like to know.
And I certainly wouldn't do that because coronavirus itself is like, this is not an issue that you should have to deal with at any time, but it is supposed to reduce sperm count. And we don't know what factors of the virus transfer into the vaccine. So why would you want to lower your sperm count twice? And I don't know how long it how long that like lasts, how long your sperm count is decreased. But I feel like that's probably a thing that you should best avoid if you can.
Dude, I've been producing a lot of sperm. Y'all, it's been a while. I'll have my time. I'll get there. I'm not worried. But oh my gosh, I think it's funny too, where it's like they talk about you lose your taste. You have all these preconditioned things. It's like you're going to be sick for the rest of your life because you got COVID. I'm like, what? What do you mean? Like, okay. Yeah. I mean, I think there's people that bring on conditions from these things, but I just think this is going to be a real learning point for future reference. And I think that this is just a really shitty moment for history at itself.
And the thing is, you are going to eventually have something like this happen no matter what. It doesn't matter. It's not, and I'm not talking about specifically a pandemic, but every few generations, something big happens in terms of, global crisis, whether it be economic, medical, military, et cetera, et cetera. So this is just something that we have to deal with. I mean, we are graced to be alive and we're blessed to be alive. I mean, there's certain risks you kind of got to accept.
All right. So moving on for a little bit of part of this goes in this, I swear. So apparently I have to look this shit up. I've been talking about and thinking about it. Apparently in the bill that allowed the stimulus checks to go out for the U.S.,
the $600,
the $600 is supposed to be $2,000, whatever it is. Apparently, it's also in there that the information is that it's supposed to release all information about UFOs. The Pentagon
about what?
The Pentagon is supposed to release all information about UFOs by March.
I didn't see that, and I think that out of some of the people that I follow on Instagram, I probably would have seen that if it was.
All right, I'm about to look this up. But like, I've been seeing so much shit, bro. I've been seeing so much.
They've been talking about declassifying for like decades now.
I'm ready for coronavirus UFO bill. I'm just gonna type that in.
I would say stimulus package. UFO declassification.
Look, 1 day ago, U.S. intelligence agencies have 180 days till Congress what they know about UFOs. COVID-19 release
till Congress.
Yeah, but. Okay, you're not wrong. But someone gonna leak that shit. The U.S. ain't like that. We got information. It's kind of dark.
AOC's dumbass about to say it on Twitch. Yeah, so there are UFOs, and oh my God, it was the craziest thing. Maybe they can help me win my re-election campaign.
Well, some of the interesting things that go along with that is that like Israel and Canada's defense people, the heads of defense.
I know the defense minister. I know.
They've been talking about recently that UFOs and aliens are real, and that there are aliens out there on this planet already that basically look exactly like us, who have identical to us. We couldn't tell them apart. And what's
all right?
Okay.
If you want to go down
one thing, and you got it. So, and what's interesting about this is they talk about that the prime directive means that basically if there's an intergalactic society of beings out there, they cannot interfere with our society until we basically have the capability to interfere with them. If that makes sense. Okay, now jump on your point, because
I have something to say in response to that. Okay. I do not think that no matter how smart a civilization, you don't have one fucking dumbass in the civilization that just goes around drooling and like yelling shit saying shit that they shouldn't be going around saying shit that they shouldn't say. And you don't think that if Joe from The Office was actually an alien, or
Jonah's a fucking alien.
So some dumbass congressman or some person in another foreign government somewhere high up is an alien. You don't think that one interaction with that person that kind of revealed that, like, oh, some shit is going on, nobody in that person's sphere of influence would be like, all right, quick blog post before the country could take that down? Dude, it would be screen one blog post or video clip would be everywhere.
Detrimental.
If that's true.
Yes, I don't know. I mean, don't get me wrong. I have no idea how they would be able to do it or what they do.
I'm not. I don't know if I believe that.
All right, look. If aliens do exist and they do come out, we're doing a part 2, and we gotta come.
So I was probed tonight. We need to talk about this because free colonoscopies. They're just giving them out.
They're just giving them out, dude. You can find out if you have cancer or not. Oh my gosh. What? So.
Yo, this shit went 0 to 100 real fucking quick.
But listen, this is the other side that I want. This is exactly what I want. I want opinions.
Who is your? How many episodes is this? What?
It's not even episodes. This is technically 3.
Okay, so who did you have on for your other 2?
So my first one, I wanted to do a podcast, but I didn't want it to be so much as like a podcast style. I wanted it to be more so as an interview / conversational topic. His name is Bill Cole. He's a family friend of mine, but he is basically in Bluefield, West Virginia, where my grandfather lives. My grandfather's a big part of the town. It's a very small town, but there's the family called the Coles, and they own like 27 dealerships there. And like this is like a old rundown coal mining town. So and they have 27 car dealerships there. And like their families run for office in like state senate, representatives for all these different things, and they've actually have a lot of influence on the area. And like I sat down, I was like, look, I went to his he opened up a new restaurant. I was like, look, I'd love to interview for something for this, and we ended up doing like a 23-minute interview about like his mindset, his goals, how he got to where he was, and what he's building upon. It was awesome. Yeah, I really enjoyed that. And then I have my buddy Christian Carson Dyke, who's also technically my boss at the moment because I'm gonna be working for him this summer. But he is just he was the top seller for Arusa marketing last summer. I just thought he was a really interesting guy. I wanted to know more about him and what his process was. And then I realized that like the one thing that I've been looking for in a podcast isn't always just to like, because the DOORS is great. I love it. I love being like I think about positivity, mindsets, all these things constantly. But the thing I don't get to do is just sit there and just talk about my opinions. I get to like, and I'm when I'm on the DOORS, I'm trying to talk more from experience, what I learned from my things, and how, like, just what people can take away from that. Because I don't want to tell people what to do. That's not my thing.
Right.
I'm not there to tell people to do. I'm not there to challenge. Like, I'm there to show you my challenges and what you can fucking learn from it. But that doesn't allow me to just show my whole self. That doesn't allow me to enjoy the conversations like we had the other night, or even this, which is fucking fun. I get to sit here and talk to you and shoot the shit. And like to be honest, the past one I did again with Bill Cole and Chris Carson Dyke, basically like they have the most amount of attention towards them per capita, I guess you could say. So like an individual is actually paying more attention to them for that. And I was like, look, let's start building something off of this. And I can interview some cool people, find out some things I don't know about them, and just have a good time instead of having to be so focused on success, positivity, and mindsets.
Not having like, okay, these are our talking points. And I mean, obviously you would want to have like a general outline for any conversation that you're having with somebody, but it isn't as structured. It's more free flowing, kind of like a conversation that we would have, like we did.
And like right now, I'm not trying to entertain any audience member. At the end of the day, what I really,
if they enjoy the conversation, they'll enjoy the conversation.
Yeah, and like honestly, it'd be great for have them other opinions and comment back, and that's like Even like to put this in perspective. By the way, if you want to go up and grab a beer, go to the bathroom. Wow, I just went blurry. Hello. Okay. If you need to go grab a beer, bathroom, whatever you want to do, go ahead. What's interesting about this, especially too, is like as much as we are similar in the fact that we are cognizant and allow ourselves to move forward and base our opinions around facts and things that actually happen in our lives instead of some bullshit like most people do.
Yeah.
But we have completely different political views, and like that's what's great about that is like I can sit here as
it is especially that side of it is such a conversation that needs to happen right now. And
exactly.
And it's going to be a hard conversation. It's going to be a really hard conversation.
I mean, I agree completely. We've gone from, I think that what's interesting, if you look at the past 5 years in total, like of course we had Trump as president, and now we have Biden as president. And right now I think the country's more divided than ever. But at the end of the day, what the thing is, as someone like me and you, who I'm like put it out there, I'm more lean. I don't like putting titles on things because I'm not defined by those. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I am leaning towards those. I'm more Democratic, as George is more Republican, right?
Yeah, I'm definitely. I am conservative more than I am libertarian, but I would consider myself both.
Okay, I am Democratic libertarian.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is why we tend to agree on a lot of things and disagree on a lot of things as well.
But that's one of the beautiful things that me and my buddy Roy talk about a lot, as well as
fuck Roy. Disclaimer: Roy Speckerman, if you're listening, you little bitch.
Damn right, you little fucking bitch. But like that's like what's really important about the conversations that me and you can have like this is, as much as I might disagree with George, at the end of the day, he's still my friend, and we're going to have an open conversation because I'm willing to listen to his points of view, his objections, things that he's thinking about, and actually take them in and listen rather than just be like, I talked about this. So this is a really good point. I talked about this earlier, literally like probably 40 minutes ago. I was talking about how to win friends and influence people. And the part about it, I don't know if you've ever read the book, it's fan-fucking-tastic.
No, I've heard of it before. I cannot. As a personal disclaimer, I cannot do self-help books. They make me want to go jump off a bridge. And any positivity whatsoever makes me go want to jump off a bridge.
I'm surprised you can hear me talk. Y'all, I am a positive motherfucker. But what's important about one of the things he says is Teddy Roosevelt talks about how he's wrong more than he's right. And
which is a fact of life.
That's a fact of life. You can't go around it. You're not going to always be right. You're probably going to be wrong most of the time. So why not accept it and try to learn from other people and see if they're right or not? And that's my thing. Like, I want to grow and like just be able to have these conversations just so that like, damn, was I really wrong? Or am I right? Or can I show them?
This might be kind of going into the weeds here, but I think that people need to understand that there are gradients of wrong and gradients of right. You are never going to hit 100% wrong. Well, I suppose it's probably easier to hit 100% wrong than it is to hit 100% right. But chances are you're not going to hit either. And you will be somewhere in the middle where you might have had a good idea, you messed it up along the way, or you might have had a bad idea and it kind of just worked out. Those are all gradients of wrong and right. So your self-analysis and the criticism, hopefully constructive, that you receive back from people is important to narrowing that swing on that variance on both sides.
I agree.
Getting closer to what is correct, neutral, whatever you want to call it, you know.
A good way to, I guess, to summarize that is that almost there's not always such a good or a bad, there just is, and there's a moral compass behind it that society follows, I guess, to an extent. I mean, there is, you definitely know you're not going to go fucking shoot your neighbor for no good reason. Like, that's not, no. I mean, but we know those things. And I think that's where like people get so ingrained in being right morally, like this is what's right morally. They're not open to that discussion. And like,
I think there can be discussions on certain things, but I do think that it there are some things that you should always be able to have the conversation for. But I don't think that a bad argument presented in good intentions should sway somebody's view.
I agree.
And the person with the bad argument but good intentions should not think the other person is evil because their argument did not persuade the other person to swap sides.
I really enjoyed that statement.
And I think that is kind of what we're suffering now. Whether you think it from the left or you think it from the right, it doesn't really matter. I think that both sides are kind of suffering from that, or at least if it's not a bad argument. And I think that there are some really fucking bad arguments out there for certain things, especially key issues. Even if it's not a bad argument, if it's just poorly presented or not developed, you cannot fault the other side for not believing it. However, if your argument is sound, if your argument is good, and the other side does what the other side, even if it's a conversation between friends, between people that kind of are just cordial business conversations, this probably goes for every single conversation, discussion, debate, argument that you have with somebody.
Yeah.
If your side, the side that you present is sound, your arguments are sound and well presented, then you should probably still not think that person is wrong, morally wrong, or evil. You should probably think that they're misled, whatever the case may be. I don't know what you want to put a label on it, but labeling somebody as evil is casting them out in the woods. And you're not going to go find them out in the woods. You can't reclaim that, because they're going to feel some type of way once you put that label on them. And then they're 100% fucking for sure not going to listen to you going forward.
Yeah. I see what you mean. And like, I think that's completely right. And I think that's a real interesting fact is like, I think that especially like to make it a good point too, it's like, I'm a very positive person, and I'm getting more semi-realistic in what I do, which is good.
Yeah.
But if we're looking at real politics over the past 5 years, it's an American citizen in general should be, as much as they might not like the president at that moment, but they should wish that he does the best or she does the best to their capability, because we're an American citizen.
I 100% think so, but I think it goes way past, way back, and not 5 years. I think it's at least 40. At least back to the 60s.
I mean, you can go through all American history and do the same thing. I mean, but at the end of the day, What I'm saying is that people rely so much on a political party to justify their reasonings and means behind what they believe in.
Right.
Rather than like someone like me or you, where we don't have to justify our actual thoughts and actions behind a specific party, but
I see what you're saying.
Singular things, and being like, okay, now that Biden's my president, I really want him to do fucking good. Like,
I do too. Yeah. I don't like the man. I think that he has already cast aside a lot of the stuff that he was saying to people in the campaign already. That's what presidents do. And like, that's what it's been a stigma. Yeah. And like, I would have loved to see Bernie in office. You got me fucked up. No, you got me fucked up.
But okay, look, here's
to be fair, I don't think Biden's going to be much better, but I agree with you where I'm going to go into this with a realistic mindset, not a pessimistic mindset. When I said I don't like positivity, I am actually a naturally positive person.
Yes.
I just don't like the outpouring of positivity. Just in general,
you like the realisticness of things and positivity in situations that allow
yes, I'm always positive in my relationships, yada yada yada. But what I was going to say is, this is more of, I will not be pessimistic about his administration, right? I hope that he does the best for us and the best for his administration that he can possibly do. That will not bar me for calling him out when he does something that I think is wrong. And I wouldn't have expected that from the other side, a Republican or conservative president going forward from and that criticism coming from the left side of the aisle. I would expect it from everybody. But to go and criticize everything or be pessimistic, we got to be more realistic. And
I think that's one of the things that we were talking about it recently is, so I mean, there's so many topics we're going to get into, I think, eventually through this too. But one of the interesting things is, I think we were talking about, I was talking about today, but we were talking about as well, is Shandy talks about all the time how our fucking generation, Shandy's, by the way, is and his coach from Austin Peay State University back in the day.
Yep.
And like, he has a very realistic mindset in success. I guess that's one of the realest things that I can say about him. And that you have to put your grind, you have to put your mind to it, your grind to it, and actually fucking do something, or you're just a fucking little bitch.
Yeah. He is the non-YouTube friendly motivational speaker.
There you go. And to an extent, basically what he was saying is that we become like most of the time is our generation is pussies. And it's, to an extent, it's fucking correct. But I was thinking about it today, and I was like, one of the reasons why we're fucking pussies or in the eyes of society as a generation is because, like, as we continue to develop through social media, as a society, blah, 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 we're caring more and more about things that used to not matter to us about it all. And I think it's
go ahead, Nick.
No, go ahead.
I think that we are caring about the things that we have never cared about. And I think that another piece in the pie is comfort breeds laziness, breeds contempt. Yeah.
Hands
contentness, et cetera. Discomfort breeds work ethic,
stagnancy.
et cetera. I have, and now to be honest, I don't know if the gyms are open or not, but in the past year, I probably have not worked out more than 25 times. Obviously, there was a lot of periods when the gym was closed, and even in work, I can kind of tell that I'm kind of productivity is lower than it should be. But I've been comfortable. I haven't literally had to leave my house most weeks if I didn't want to. And I was in the gymnastics gym for 20 hours a week plus
for
school.
14 years of your fucking life or something.
15 years from the time that, well, obviously it kind of ramped up practice schedule wise, but from 3 years old to 18 years old. And then I transferred to cheer and I was doing the same thing.
I mean, I did the same.
And so that's a lot. And same boat, right? So that's a lot of work ethic that is instilled in you.
It's just in there. It's not going anywhere.
And for it to go, but it needs to be reactivated, at least for me, because I feel like for 1 year, it's obviously a long amount of time, but for 1 year, I was told that I couldn't go outside and I have not actually worked out. I could do a workout at home, but I still don't even put the effort in.
So,
and I think that is, it's not just me. It is a broader problem.
I'm
generations on generations.
I can go into it too. Like, I have not been on my game lately. I guess you could say, I think it's mentally, I think it's physically, I think it's even spiritually to an extent, because again, we're in a space of comfortability. Comfortability is a space of stagnancy, which doesn't allow you to think, process, blah, blah. Like, for me, my room is my sanctuary. Like, I don't want to leave. This is where I play games. I can sit here, I sleep. I have my whole computer set up right here. And it's great, but it's so comfortable. I have to get out of this. Like, I have to force myself to go spend time with my dad or do something like that to get out of my space. I even have a home gym downstairs that I barely use. It's again, being comfortable. But I think that one thing that really has, going along with that physically, like, not doing what we need to be doing. I mean, we can relate it to anything, but at the end of the day, I think it's also because it's not what we want to do. It's not always the perfect thing that we want to do. Like, for me, I've always been searching for something that I enjoy, like tumbling. Like, I would get in the gym and tumble or stunt or do whatever for cheerleading, or I'd be in gymnastics. I'd go in early and I'd mess around on trampolines. Like, I loved doing that because the environment. Do I love the environment I'm constantly in the moment? No, I enjoy it. There are certain things I do love about it, but it's in finding, like, I've been, Georgia, my buddy Sean, who's fucking awesome. He built a Sprinter van and he travels across the U.S. climbing. He just left on a trip to Las Vegas. He's gonna be in Moab for a couple months. He's fucking awesome.
Sure. Yeah, that sounds cool.
But I went rock climbing a few times. Like we had to be masked up indoors and everything. Like it was safe, as safe as it could be. But I really enjoyed that because it gave me a physical presence of I have to accomplish something that's challenging.
And we both are very physical people, and
You
even
love
the mental,
rock climbing.
and we are both mentally stimulated. Like we enjoy the mental stimulation of challenging things.
League of Legends.
I mean, that's how I got through school, and I know that you were very successful in school, and I was too, and because we had the hard work, perseverance, work ethic, all that stuff built into us, but we actually enjoyed the challenge of it.
But I think that's ingrained in your brain. Again, we don't like for me, working out right now is not something that I'm trying. Like, of course I'd like to get bigger. I don't have a reason to get bigger now because I'm not in cheerleading. I'm not in gymnastics. I don't have a reason to accomplish those goals. So there's no reason.
I don't either.
So like rock climbing is like cool. Like I can't get this set. I can't climb up this thing. I'm not good enough yet. And I'm like, okay, cool. How do I get better?
Right.
And that's where I'm like, that's, if you relate back all the way back to that story, that whole entire thing, spiritually, mentally, physically, whatever it is, at the same time, it's not something that we're looking towards that. It's like, wow, I want to get over that hump. I want to get over that ridge.
Right.
There's no reason
I think that we are more comfortable, less challenged, and less happy than we have ever been as a generation in the past year and a half. And it's been accelerated by the pandemic. And I think that even without the pandemic, it would have continued to get worse because everything would constantly be made easier in our lives.
I agree. And I think that honestly, this might be a good point for society to realize that this is happening and that like it's accelerated enough to do that. A lot of people, one of the things that I've been thinking and talking about for almost the past year now is, so if you think, well, like the next thing that's going to change the world, and it doesn't have to be a positive way, it can be anything, but like, what do you think the next big thing is going to be coming? Like we had the Industrial Revolution, we had the Agricultural Revolution, we had these things that allowed the human society to develop as these things. We had right now the Technological Revolution. There's a lot of people that think there's some really interesting things that are going to happen in our future. And I think it's all going to happen at once because we're already progressing at a rate that's fucking crazy. In my mind, I think that to a certain extent, as much so, I believe in evolution, in the fact that people can develop, or animals can develop in certain environments to acquire different skills. I think human capabilities have allowed us to create things so fast that our bodies and our minds and our evolution can't keep up, which is why we are like fight or flight system, which is basically telling us to whether feel depressed, anxiety, or like this is not a situation I need to be in, or I need to step up and buck up to the situation. I think that honestly, human society hasn't allowed our mental to deal with that. And I think that honestly, the next revolution is going to be the mental revolution, learning how to really properly deal with depression, anxiety, social mental disorders that could be solved with things probably like psilocybin, mushrooms, marijuana.
So the psilocybin thing, I haven't done it myself, but I find that great. super interesting. I've listened to plug another podcast.
Go ahead.
The main one, Joe Rogan's podcast.
That's my man, dude.
He had a Mayan ecologist, which is a person that studies fungi, studies mushrooms. I can't remember his name. He had him on twice. If anybody has not listened to those podcasts,
I'll look it up for you. I'll look it up.
It gets super nerdy, but super, super freaking cool. And if anybody has not listened to those podcasts, Nick is going to look up the name of it now.
Paul Stamets.
He's a goofball. This man is a goofball, but he is incredibly smart. He's on the leading edge of that area of research of how things could help us get past mental issues.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I thought I listened to both those podcasts with my mom. It was super cool.
Yeah. I mean, I really do enjoy Joe Rogan's podcast. There's some of the reasons why I enjoy doing what I do at all, because it's a free form of expression where I get to talk to some really fucking cool people and do these things. But I think that, again, exactly what he was talking about. I think psilocybin and how, I think we talked about religion a while ago. We'll probably get into it again in this, but I think psilocybin taps into something that allows us to understand. There was a video I watched recently, and it was talking about what psilocybin does to the actual brain. So our neurological pathways basically form pathways that allow us to just think, understand, make actions, blah, blah, whatever.
Right.
So what psilocybin actually does is actually reorganizes those neurological pathways that allow you to understand things better or see things in different ways that you can deal with them. And for me, again, since I'm so self-help and positivity, success, mindful driven, what I've been trying to think about is how people deal with emotions and the actual experiences they go through. Because, I mean, I've been through some shit. I guarantee, George, you've been through some shit. Everyone's been through some shit in their fucking life. Yeah. There's not one person that has had a perfect life. Everyone's had to deal with something where they've had to overcome, or like it's some stressful shit in their head. And I think I actually came up with a new one tonight. There's 5 ways right now, until I realize more, of how to deal with these issues. Writing it down, speaking it out loud to someone, to someone like you, George, speaking it out loud to yourself, self-actualizing, and then meditation.
Yeah, I would call self-actualizing, don't be a fucking bitch. But no, but I get what you're saying, because like you kind of like fall. We're going off on a whole bunch of tangents.
Dude, but that's who gives a shit.
But for that self-actualizing one, I actually agree with you on it. Pretty much all of those. I don't know if I would say that I'm a writing it down person, but voicing it to someone or self-actualizing. A large part of my self-actualization is just going and sitting down and getting over my issues by like going to listen to music or going for a walk or something like that. And I think that those things where you can just put on an album on your phone and not go on Instagram and not go on Twitter, or go listen to a fucking CD, go take a walk without your phone, or go take your phone on a walk and listen to music on a walk, or listen to podcast on a walk. Just go get out of your own fucking space.
Get out of your comfort zone.
But here's the thing. My question is on the psilocybin conversation, because it kind of wraps together, right? Is it something, would it help? Yes. But is it necessary? Because how much of what everybody used to do to get over problems, and obviously every single generation, every single year, every single second, somebody is going to have an issue. It doesn't matter if you go back 2,000 years, 5 seconds ago, whatever. Yeah. And I'm not saying that people deal with it better now or people dealt with it better in the past than they have now. But people have ultimately dealt with it, because we wouldn't be here if they hadn't. So what did they do to get there without all the technology stuff and all the extra stuff that isn't essential for you to live? How much more do you need, and how much do you need to cut out to get back to you as a person?
Okay. So you answered my question too. Along with that, is I agree, but I think that in the past we had less to deal with mentally. We had, of course, don't get me wrong,
but we are voluntarily.
Yes,
we are voluntarily agreeing to be more spread out mentally.
You're not wrong, and that's where I was going to go into. I was like, we have to what extent do we have to backtrack and basically take things off our plate to allow it? And you answered that question.
So what you were saying before, Nick, I think that either we go forward or we take quite a few steps back.
Yeah. I mean, but I think that, again, you're right. I think that it's either going to be through psilocybin something, or finding new techniques that allow us to do this. But I think that's like I get AIs and technological things are going to become ridiculously advanced, but us as a society needs to go through this. Because I mean, personally, I have family members that have gone through mental diseases like this, and I see it. I've had family friends who have committed suicide based upon these things. And it's just like, wow, your mind can be fucked up.
Yeah.
And as a society, that's something that has to be dealt with to move forward. Like, here's a good question. Moving on from this scenario and topic, how far do you think human existence is going to go?
I think there's no question that we'll get off Earth and have civilizations on the nearest, most habitable planet is Mars. So probably there. I mean, they're already sending robotics there, and it won't be long until somebody fucking smarter than both of us combined, like Elon Musk and a team of people slightly less smart than him under him, kind of figure out what is going on, or slightly more smart, you know?
Yeah, jumping on to Elon Musk. I mean, if y'all haven't seen his fucking podcast with Joe Rogan, that's some shit. The man is a interesting character.
And that is putting it mildly.
Holy fuck.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, but he's changing the world. Like, he's the modern day Iron Man. Like, he's a playboy billionaire philanthropist that is literally just like, let's create a fucking flamethrower.
Yeah.
You know, he fired that shit in Joe Rogan's office.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
He's like, what?
Well, and what I was saying is, I think that we'll go. I don't know if anybody could actually estimate how long we would last. I think that you would have to be a scientist and an and have a degree in actuary.
I'm a prophet.
Yeah, yeah, like to actually tell, unless you have like divine intervention, right? But I think that I don't know. I don't even know if it's worth considering, except
I accept it. I understand. I feel you.
Except to consider, what do we mean by human, and how much do we fucking change ourselves until it no longer means human?
Okay, so you're talking about Neuralink. You're talking about
Neuralink, kind of being symbiotic, or having an AI symbiote in you, et cetera, et cetera. Because there's this old analogy of, so you start with a ship, and you start with a crew. The ship gets damaged and you replace the boards. The crew dies away and you replace the crew. How long does it go until that ship is no longer the ship that it once was?
I understand.
Where you could no longer call it the USS Sternloff. How long could you? How long could you go in repairs, and what significant repairs could you undergo without getting to the point where you couldn't call that ship the USS Sternloff, or whatever the silly name that you want to give it, right?
So, I mean, that goes more into religious things too, because like if we claim ourselves to be spiritual beings in a physical body, does that still consider us to be that if we're in that? And like, that's a whole nother topic going into as well. But like,
right.
I mean, it's very interesting. Like, how I think that the next 100 to 200 years is going cyberpunk 2077. Like, at the end of the day.
Oh, yeah.
At the end of the day, like, I think pieces of people's bodies, like, I mean, we're already seeing like 3D printing and things like that, being able to create hearts.
I mean, yeah, even hearts. No.
Fucking arms. Yeah. Luke Skywalker's arm's gonna be a real thing in the next.
Yeah, fucking for real.
Dude, I'm gonna cut off my arm and be like, fuck you, man.
It's we didn't have flying cars in the year 2000, but we sure got a fucking arm that you can control now.
But I mean, so it's gonna be crazy, and I think that it's like we could never have predicted what's gonna end up coming. I mean, there's science fiction and things like that are really crazy.
We'll probably catch up to science fiction one day. But,
I mean, I think
they thought everything was going to be fucking powered by steam. A whole genre is based on that shit. What is fucking powered by steam right now? Nothing. I mean, like energy turbines, but
yes, nuclear power. What they do is they heat up water that turns turbines. So I mean,
yeah, but what in day-to-day life is, like, but there is a certain amount of looking forward to look forward sake back in those old science fiction, and a lot of them will probably come to fruition in one way or another.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think that science fiction is like, especially like the creativity behind it, it allows like,
it's super cool.
I'm a big science fiction nerd.
Okay. Science fiction or fantasy?
Both. I mean, I like science.
If you had to pick one genre that you could only read for you couldn't touch the other genre.
Science fiction.
I think I would pick fantasy.
Well, I mean, let's put it this way. I do love fantasy. But at the end of the day, like I like the book. Robert A. Heinlein's a fucking amazing writer talking about Stranger in a Strange Land, Red Planet. I've read the whole Dune series on my library, my bookshelf.
Do you really?
Over there. Yeah, fucking.
I haven't read any of those yet.
I'll send them to you, bro. Once I'm done with them, I'll send them to you. They're really like, honestly, the first book, it's fucking wild, bro.
They're making a Dune movie in 2021. I
know. The reason why I started reading the books was because of that.
Oh, okay.
And it's, to put it in comparison, it's like the Star Wars. It's a good thing. It's like, honestly, like the books are like a great. It's space, it's Empire kind of shit. The Chosen One, Luke Skywalker, blah blah. Very very interesting. I really thoroughly enjoyed it. If you like science fiction at all, you'd really enjoy it. Yeah. I love the Golden Compass series. That's another kind of science fiction. Like,
I never read those books, and I thought the movies were okay. The movie's kind of the movie was subpar, but it was the storyline was interesting to me.
So HBO just came out with the whole trilogy of those books is called His Dark Materials.
Yeah.
So they just came out with a TV show that went over the first season or first book of the actual show, and they did a fucking good job. HBO
did they really?
Really, really good.
Dude, have you ever watched the fucking Peaky Blinders? I know this is not science fiction or fantasy.
Listen, real quick. This is whatever we want to fucking talk about. Dude, you think the right turn.
Dude, watch the fucking Peaky Blinders.
Peaky Blinders.
I've watched the 5 seasons that have come out yet. They're recording in production for their final season now. I have watched all 5 seasons 4 times, and it only came out. I watched it like once every couple months because I didn't discover it when it first came out. I've watched it every like 4 months. It is so good.
HBO is the pinnacle of TVs and movies. Like, honestly, to be able to come out with the accurate representation of books and things that are closer to what they should be, I think HBO is doing it right. They're putting the money behind it. Of course, fucking Game of Thrones season 8, fuck you, but I mean, moving on. But like, they did a really good job. I think that the reason why I choose science fiction is because it's something I can dream towards, and I know that could possibly happen. Don't get me wrong. I think fantasy would be sick.
I think that distinction between our preferences there kind of shows our personalities, though.
Yes.
Right. Because they all are kind of both are rooted in some sort of realism where this is something that you could achieve, and it's not, or like the general like thread of the story is a thread that you could follow, right, in your own personal life. It's just what kind of setting it's in.
Completely.
Yeah,
like, are you able to? Is the actual universe different? I think that science fiction is more tied towards this universe or universe like it, rather than something where you can like have powers specifically. Because like, gotcha. Bro, if I could have powers, you better believe. Like, if this universe had powers, I would have powers. That's it. Like, I know it.
Yeah. You ain't got to give me the choice between yes or no, because bitch, I'm a big yes.
There ain't no choice. I'm that bitch. Oh, but like I mean, to go even further in this, like, do you think that there's possibly another universes where they can have like these kinds of shits, like you're talking?
I don't know.
If you're talking fantasy, what kind of shit are you talking about? Are you talking like Lord of the Rings? Are you talking about like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, Lord of the Rings I've got into now that I'm older. I mean, obviously
I have to read the books. I have the books over there right now too.
Yeah, Lord of the Rings. I really liked the Harry Potter series when I was younger. Obviously, I mean, who in our, in the the generation before us, my generation, the generation afterwards does it. Yeah. But there was I can't remember what it was called, like a Merlin series that I read. It was a bunch of older fantasy books when I was a kid.
Did you ever read Redwall?
No.
I feel like you'd be a person that read Redwall, but it was like the animals that like ended up going on adventures, and they had a whole like fucking universe behind it.
See, so my sister started reading like those like animals as like main characters novels, and I never really understood the appeal behind them, because it was not, I couldn't, and maybe it's just like my own flaw, but I could never see myself being, I couldn't imperson my personality with an animal's body, I guess. I thought it's just fucking it's just fucking cheesy. Like, I don't want to fucking hear about a cat's going on a fucking adventure and they have fucking powers and they could do things that they could only do if they had opposable fucking thumbs. And I know that's a really low fucking bar, considering we were talking about people who can apparently do magic. So I don't think cats doing things with supposed opposable thumbs is an issue. But I thought it was too cheesy. Like, and it's a weird line to draw, but that's where I drew the line.
I feel like you'd be like a badger teacher. Like, you'd be
what?
You'd be like a badger. Like, you'd be like a fucking honey badger. Like, I just know you.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Like, because you're like, look, okay, we're nearly the same height, but like we're both kind of the same build as skinny little bitches. Like, to be honest.
Yeah.
And like, you're just fucking tough. I know you're fucking tough. And a honey badger don't give shit to no one.
No, honey badger doesn't give a single fuck.
Not one. I just think it's funny. But like, I think that like, here's a real good fan. Okay, what do you think of James Cameron's Avatar?
I liked the movie when it came out. I have not seen the movie since it was in theaters. I have, like, not a single time, because I went to see it with my parents when it was in theaters back in the day. And I don't think I've seen it afterwards, but I thought it was a good movie. I remember thinking that it was good, at least.
I'm ready for number 2. But I think...
I mean, dude, I wonder how... I don't think people are going to think it's stale, because I think that a fucking fuck ton of people are going to go. But how long does it take for you to put out a sequel to a movie?
Well, I mean,
that is ridiculous.
Don't get me wrong. I completely agree. One of my favorite movies of all time, though, is Tron Legacy. And that's a fucking sequel from the fucking 80s when Tron
that's true. Yeah, that's true.
When Tron originally came out in...
I like that Tron.
1982. And I love that movie, but Tron Legacy, where he actually goes and becomes in that world, I just think like that's like...
I forgot about that movie. I need to watch that.
I watched it probably a month ago. I think the incorporation of the ISOs into it and how they built it from the ground up as like almost like this is just able to happen. Like, that's super cool.
Yeah.
That was really, really dope. And like, I mean, they came out and they I want to see how successful it was, how Tron Legacy was.
I think it was actually decent. I don't think it was like a blowout, but I think it pulled a decent amount.
400 million during its worldwide theatrical run.
What did they spend on the budget?
Tron Legacy budget. Their budget was 170 million, so 230 million.
I mean, that's not a huge margin for like a big blockbuster. But I mean, they still made a fuck ton of money on it. So,
I mean, if you look,
that was a good movie. I remember seeing that movie and being obsessed with Tron for like a couple months after.
I want one of the fucking suits.
Yes. I just want to fucking.
I want all my memories on a fucking disc
or whatever it's called.
Like, I mean, I love journaling. Don't get me wrong, but I'd love to have all my memories on a fucking disc that never left my body.
Yeah.
I mean. But so another interesting thing. So James Cameron, he has the top 2 grossing films of all time. First one is Avatar. Second one is the Titanic.
I don't know. He produced or directed the Titanic.
So here's something really crazy, and they talked about it. I think it was on Joe Rogan's podcast or something that I've listened to it many times, many places. But James Cameron he loves, it might have been National Geographic or something, some fucking documentary. I like documentaries as well, but they were talking about James Cameron loves diving in submarines, like hardcore. Like he loves scuba diving, he loves these things. And what he wanted to do is he wanted to go visit Titanic. So what he did is he went to 20th Century Fox and told them, look, I want to go visit the Titanic, and I will create you a blockbuster to go around this whole thing just so I can go do that. And that's what he did. And it's the second top grossing film of all time.
You don't think he could have just like rented a charter boat for a little bit cheaper and a little less work?
But like he didn't spend the money. 20th Century Fox did it.
I know, but that's a lot of opportunity costs just to fucking but at the same time it was worth it. I mean, the second highest grossing film of all time, I guess.
It's huge. I think what's also crazy is that he's also one of the few people that's dived to the bottom of the ocean, the Mariana Trench.
How long did it take him to do that? You know how long?
Let me look it up all this shit. I'm here for it.
Dude, you know how long it would have taken him to get back up so he didn't get the bends?
Mariana Trench.
Because you have to have a certain amount of oxygen intake into your body, and it has to be staggered by the amount of feet that you're going. So you can't like breathe like a normal person all the way back up. Otherwise, you'll have pockets of oxygen in your body.
Yeah. About the Mariana Trench. So apparently.
Also, how freaky would it be to go down to the deepest, darkest part of the saltwater bodies on the face of the earth?
36,000 feet. 36,000 feet, which is over 6 miles.
That's insanity.
That's insanity. And like every couple
you got me absolutely fucked up if you think that I was going to do that.
Don't get me wrong. I agree. What's crazy is, so I took scuba diving lessons in college basically as a class. It was one credit course. I was like, fuck yeah, I want to do it.
What did you do it in? A fucking pool?
Yeah, I did it in a pool. Fuck you.
At Austin P?
Yes.
What? In the fucking pool?
No.
Oh,
It was
I was about to say, dude.
They took it to another place, but they do it at the Foy pool too. The thing is, it's like, dude, it's a one credit course and I'm a fucking senior. But you think I'm not going to take it?
Yeah, take a scuba diving course. Yeah, you're right. I would be taking scuba diving too.
Listen, you know what they did too? They said they're like, look, we don't want to come here 1 day a week. Can we just come? Can you sign up for a weekend and you'll come for 2 days in a row and that's your class for the whole entire semester?
No fucking way.
Yes.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow, I wish I had a fucking class like that.
It was great. But one of the interesting things you learned about scuba diving when you actually understand it is that, like, you have to, again, exactly what George was saying, is that you have to depressurize every time you go down a certain amount of depth. You actually get, like, so every, like, I think it's 6-7 feet. I don't even know. I'm not looking this up. But every,
there's certain.
You basically get another atmospheric pressure as you go down further and further, and it's kind of like going up a mountain where you have to get adjusted to the pressure and inhaling the oxygen. Except your oxygen is the same when you're coming up to surface from the ocean, right? It's just pressure around your body. Your oxygen level's in a tank, so that isn't going to change, but the pressure around your body is going to change. So it's like the exact inverse of what's happening when you're climbing a mountain, and you can get what is called the bends. I don't know what the science. Decompression sickness. So I'll get into
decompression sickness.
So what's interesting is that, like, again, so when James Cameron went down to the bottom of Mariana Trench, he was in a crazy.
I definitely forgot how we got on this topic.
Doesn't matter. We're here. This is what I enjoy.
Yeah.
One of the things that's really interesting about that, though, is like he went in a very high-tech, like scientific fucking submarine that had like walls and things thick enough that could handle the pressures of like 100+ atmospheres, which is fucking crazy because if you get out into space, it's really just one atmosphere, one atmospheric pressure. That's it. So moving from that, though, as you go down, you have to descend and equalize your pressure in your actual blood, your ears or blood, whatever it is too. But on the way up, you have to do the same thing. That's why have you ever seen those blobfish? Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Let me finish this and we got it. So those blobfish that they take up from the bottom of the ocean, you ever seen those things that look crazy?
Yes. Yeah,
you
them
know
things
what? Those don't look as crazy as you think it is. The reason why they look so crazy is because the fishermen that grab them from the bottom of the fucking ocean and take them up to the fucking top.
And they are not, they don't experience the same gravitational force.
I mean, as the way up, they decompress. Think about this. Yeah. So you're under hundreds of fucking pressures of one-time pressures. You're having to go all the way back up to the top. And you decompress. The air in your blood system literally boils, it expands, and creates holes in either your blood, like your bones, and different shit. It's fucking wild. But look,
it is insane.
All right, we're gonna take like a 10-minute break, but y'all are gonna see it as 1 second. So bye. What were we talking about?
We were talking about Avatar.
Okay,
talking about the Marianas.
James Cameron, Marianas Trench. So I think that one of the things I think that's a really reason about that talking point is that I think that you can really, in this world, one of the interesting things that we have to learn as a generation, as a society, is that human attention matters. And that if you can think of a way to make something happen and accomplish your goals along the way while doing that, you're fucking doing something right.
You mean human attention in terms of other people giving you attention and that human interaction?
Yes and no. So yes, but that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm saying is like more so is that humans need things. So like human attention is towards, like right now, like some big things human attention is towards movies. Coronavirus has been a lot of attention towards.
You're like, talking about actual
singular, actual, like a person's attention.
Gotcha.
So if you can utilize that in a way like James Cameron did, there's a lot of things. One of the things that I really enjoy too is, so I talked to you about the grindstone, the things that I talked to you a little bit about this. So one of the things that I'm trying to do aside from the DOORS, aside from this even, is I'm trying to build a group of individuals that are really.
Yeah, we talked about this, but on the same plane that you could get together and, once a year, because we're all so spread out, that you could actually get together and just shoot the shit for a couple of days.
Yes.
And talk about real stuff.
I agree completely, but then build actually a whole conference behind it, eventually going into where we talk about, you grab enough people, you do enough things where you take them along and build an actual substance of something where you can actually use that to buy your mountain.
Right. I remember us talking about this, and I think I did it a disservice when I said shoot the shit. It is more.
No, I completely understand. Don't get me wrong. I know what your
more. It's more. It's like a. Yeah. It's like a. It's a group of like-minded people that are. It's kind of like a TED Talk for a group. A bunch of TED Talks that would eventually come out of this, but for a certain select group of people that would kind of revolve around whatever issues that are prominent would have found were found to be interesting, et cetera, et cetera. Am I getting that right?
Basically, I guess. I mean, I don't know how it would be. At the end of the day, like I think that it's just important people. I'd rather be telling stories of people learning something from their own experiences rather than telling people to do things.
I think this sounds like a lot like a master class. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, I guess you could say that, but at the end of the day, it's completely that, but it's people's lives. I mean, you can envision, you can put something to do with it on, like whether it has to do with success or
I see what you're saying.
math.
I see what you're saying.
But like, that's what James Cameron did. That's one of the things that I'm trying to do. And like, that's what's one of the cool things too about this process that with everything that I've been doing over the past 2 years is that I've documented every fucking thing. I have everything. Like I have all the notes. I have all the things online.
Do you find it helpful to write it down?
Hands down. I mean, at the end of the day, you cheered me for 2 years technically, but
yeah, I mean, it felt like we were together for longer than that. We were technically together for 3, right?
Yes, but we've been friends for long enough where it's like you understand me. Like,
yeah,
I'm fucking sporadic. I got a lot going on in my fucking head. And
hey, you and me both. We are probably two of the most ADHD people on the fucking planet.
This whole fucking conversation.
This is how our brains work.
But like, that's being able to, I mean, not only journaling, not only the amount of notebooks I have, but being able to have the notes on my computer as well, having all these things combined together, literally. Like I can't talk about the idea I had last night because it's fucking that good. Like I have some, like but one of the things is we be surrounded by these people, like being able to write these things down and think about them and how their application. So let's put it this way. Me and my dad sat down the other day, a couple months ago. We were talking about an app platform that could basically allow people to more so video that could. It's virtual workspace. So like, imagine you're sitting at home like you're doing right now, right?
Okay.
What you do is you have it's not specifically designed for a certain one, but can have any kind of different ones where you go in virtually and now you have all these rooms that are combined together and people working in the same space where you can like kind of keep in touch with people around you, blah, blah. But it's just so you have companions and things around where you can communicate with while in a workspace.
Okay. I have a couple questions. So who would it be marketed towards?
Businesses. There's a reason I'm going to go into this, and it makes more sense if I explain real quick and finish this then.
Okay.
Here you go. So we're doing this. We had these ideas, blah, blah, and then a new app came out. It's called, I believe it's called Chat Room or something like that. One second, I have to look this up.
Okay.
I know, but it's important because it's basically a Zain Ghani. He's been doing it lately. 400 trillion. Kentucky one. Chipper man. Where's this new thing? Sorry, I'm taking so long to do this.
It's okay. I think that is a pretty cool idea.
Here it is. Clubhouse. Here you go. Clubhouse is a new application. Thank you for letting me. But basically, it's intermittent chat rooms. So you have an idea basically behind a chat room, and people jump in there, and you can either be vocal or non-vocal, but you're all in the same space. And CEOs, famous people, whatever it may be, they're gonna be all in the same chat room, but you can't interact with them. You're just there, unless you want them to. And it's basically a virtual.
Interesting.
So it's like a virtual online podcast masterclass / work environment for any specific topic.
It's like an internal Skype or internal Microsoft Teams or Slack channel that you can have a bunch of people on. How would people get on it though? Like, would you have to be invited to somebody's Discord server essentially?
I guess. I don't know how it works yet. You have to be invited to the app right now. Right now it's going through beta testing. But does that same idea we were talking about came to fruition. It's like now so like for people like you and me, like I know how smart you are because we literally had the same scholarships in high school, like college. We got paid to go to college because of cheerleading and how smart we were.
Yeah.
And we're hard workers. It's the reason why we're able to do what we do.
Yeah.
And for the minds, like we have to, as we develop and do these things and become more prominent in society and how we want to accomplish our goals, it's how do we apply human attention into something that's going to allow us to use that to catapult in something. And like that was a crazy idea. And I had another one that I'm very excited to see if it works or moves into anything, and it could really change some things. But I don't want to. We'll talk about this at a future date when I start working and really developing it.
All right. So for anybody, the one person that's listening that has these ideas, like Nick has the ideas, I have found I'm probably, what year were you born? 97, 96?
96.
Yeah.
You're
I'm
95.
only a year. I'm only a year older than Nick, but I've been out in the workplace for 2 years, and I have several regrets in my life. And it is one of the biggest things that I regret is not having both the focus and putting in the effort to follow my ideas into fruition. So whoever is listening to this that has an idea like Nick, or has an idea that they think would be cool, it is ultimately worth it to follow that idea to the utmost that you can possibly do. Don't put yourself in financial or like mental ruin because of it, because you're just going to end up, chances are that's going to put a damper on your outlook for your short-term future. But follow those to the utmost that you can, because that's something that I have regretted. And that's something that I am kind of envious and jealous of Nick, that he has the time and the opportunity to do this, because there is a time that you will not have the chance to do that. So if you're in college,
or it'll be harder to do things.
Yeah. If you're in college, or you're looking for a job, or you have a permanent job, or a job that you're happy with, but you also have these side projects that you want to work on them. Because ultimately, even if it doesn't turn out how you want it to be, it will probably better yourself as a person to have worked on them, and to actually have something of any kind to show for it, even if it's just your hard work that you went through to get to the point that you did. That's something at the end of the day. Like me and Nick both, for example, are really big into music. I 100%, even though I make pretty good money for my job and I can work from home, I'm very comfortable, like we talked about before in part 1 of this, or before our little intermission we were talking about. I am very comfortable but there is a lot that I regret, because I could have done something with music, or something more creative, or had that be a side project, and I could still do it. It would just be a further jumping off point than had I had done this beforehand. So don't be afraid to take, I know I said, at the beginning of this, I don't like the positivity aspect of a lot of like motivational speakers in life, but to be a hypocrite for a second, you should, whoever's listening to this that needs to hear it, you should 100% take those chances. Be careful in the chances that you're taking. You don't want to stretch yourself too thin, but you should take the chance and make the chance your own, is what I would say.
That's a really
make the chance your own, because you are not going to be handed anything. So if you need to make something, make it, but make it what you want to be, and make it what you want to do.
And I think he's like this whole thing that he's gone on is so important. Like I as much as he's talking about this too, like, and he said that he can keep going and do this, I understand the leaps and bounds it takes to get to where people get to.
Right.
And like, I mean, one of the things that I've been preaching here's before I jump into the real things about this, my grandpa told me this the other day, and it's important because this is the fucking thing rides right into it. I'm going right into my journal. My grandfather, so my brother got engaged, and I was a photographer there, and basically afterwards I was crying because I was so fucking happy, man. I was just like, wow, this is happening. My grandpa's like, you don't even look happy though. Like, you're crying, you're not happy. But I was happy. It was definitely, I think, more so of how, like, where I am in life compared to the things that he's going on. But you can't compare that always. At the end of the day, my grandpa's like, you're so happy for this. You're still doing great. Okay, but here's what you need to hear. He said, every morning you wake up, you sit there, and no matter what's going on, you have to do this. You have to wake up, say, fuck it. It's a new fucking day. Get going. And I think that's crazy, because no matter what we do, you got to get going at some point. And like, I feel you completely. And like, you have this thing that's you're fucking into music, dude. I could see you doing some crazy shit. DJ Got Some Milk is a real thing.
DJ Got Some Milk.
But like, as it just takes, like, I mean, I tell my dad this constantly, and like, even me, I have to stay on top of myself. I mean, 5 minutes a week is something. You can't categorize yourself with all these. I have friends that are doing some really cool things as well in like the music/photography industry, and I have I'm trying to get in the photography industry now right now, just the media business, and understand what it is. Like, it's got a new camera and everything, and like I got some work to do. I got friends that are fucking way out there, and it's
there is always, and I think that people need to realize that you will never be at the top. James Cameron, as we were talking about before, probably does not consider himself to be at the top. And if he does, it's probably, he has both the second and first slots of the highest grossing movies of all time. And if he thinks that he is at the top, it's probably hubris. And that hubris will kill you, because it will, if you think too fully of yourself and you're counting yourself short, both are fatal to your success.
Isn't that fucking crazy though? Like, what? Like, that's the shit we gotta live with. That's the shit we gotta deal with.
You have to want to be the best in whatever you want to do. But
I don't
falling
think
falling short of you being put on the largest, highest pedestal possible, you should probably not consider yourself to be the best in anything.
Yes, I think that at the end of the day,
you should not think less of yourself, but you should not consider yourself to be the best, because there's still stuff that you should learn.
I think that to even go further along with this than that is like, especially something I learned from Top Gun, Coach Victor and Coach Kristen Rosario, fucking amazing ass coaches.
Yep.
Like, they just put you in a mindset that you have it's at the end of the day, the only thing that you're in the gym for, gymnastics, cheerleading, whatever sport, in your job, in your life, whatever it may be.
Classes,
school, the tiniest details of scheduling your out, like waking up and making your bed. Like, I'm not always the best at any of this shit. But what they always told me, which is so important, is that you have to beat you. You have to compete against yourself, because the only person you can get satisfaction truly from is yourself. If you're going through something like this, to an extent, I guess you could say, but like, if you are in cheerleading and you're doing a routine, the only thing that you have to try to do is be better than yourself, because then you're satisfied, you feel fulfilled, and you can move forward. And it allowed me to have a confidence in myself. It allowed me to understand that moving forward, as long as I continue on this path of learning, being accepting to the things that I have, and like, okay, this fell, or okay, this happened. Okay, I have to get myself out of this. What do I need to do better? What is the steps I need to take? Okay, let's start trying to make steps in that direction. Don't get me wrong, it never goes always the way I plan it. Nothing ever goes the way I plan it.
No, never. There was a Mike Tyson quote, something like that, where your battle plan never. It's not a Mike Tyson quote that I'm thinking of. I know
prepare for the worst. Expect the best. Prepare for the worst.
Expect the best. Prepare for the worst. A battle plan never survives first contact. All these. There is. You could probably look up hundreds of the quotes that are saying essentially the same thing.
Exactly.
And that is one of the biggest things that I think people in general, it doesn't matter if it was 100 years ago, 200 years ago, 2,000 years ago, 100 years into the future, 2,000 years into the future, that's something that people need to keep in mind. That's one of the most, it's not just a specific inspirational quote or a quote that you should learn. It really is a mindset that nothing that you do, the best that you can plan it out is going to survive. It's your adaptability that will get you further, and how you adapt and how you keep thinking. Your ideas, if no matter how successful they are, have got you somewhere. So you have to keep pushing yourself to get over the hump. And getting over that hump, even if it doesn't end up in success or the success that you would have wanted it to, is a small micro success at the end of the day, because you did get over the challenge, or you thought through the challenge, even if you did not reach the level of success that you wanted to. It is something that you at least put that time and effort to do. And that is a very important takeaway from this whole conversation. It's just
Yeah.
constantly pushing yourself and constantly adapting and moving forward.
I mean, if you look at even through gymnastics and cheerleading, you understand there are moments where you have plateaus. There are moments where you backtrack. There are moments you move forward, and it's okay as long as you understand that that's
right.
all okay. That's all completely fine. It's human. It's just natural. And I think that like one of the things again you're talking about just the development of a idea into something and putting any time into it. I think that looking back, even through just the doors or what I've been doing at all, what's interesting is I put in a fuck ton of fucking work, dude. I put in a lot of time and effort, but at the end of the day, I've enjoyed every moment of it. And because I've enjoyed it, it takes me, like, I can just be like, cool, I should try to learn about this, or I should try to do this. And then I take, one of my favorite quotes of this entire process has been, "The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step." It's by Lao Tzu.
Right.
If you stop thinking about, I'm quoting so many fucking people because it goes in line with it. If you stop thinking about finish lines, start thinking about immortal finish lines, like Matthew McConaughey talks about, and thinking about that there's never a actual end goal. There's just a process, and the process is a single fucking step. And if you think like the hardest part is just taking one step. After that, you already got some momentum. It's just, and like that allows you to, no matter what the situation scenario is. I mean, y'all, I learned this is something I learned in college, and our man Jonah Henson, which is both a really good friend of ours. He literally, like, I was sitting at practice one day. The man's a fucking genius.
The man is like probably hands down the best athlete that I've ever met in my life. And my best friend, I grew up with this man since I was 4 years old.
He's, I mean, genuinely a great guy.
My best friend in the entire world. And
genuinely a great guy. He looks like a mix between Tarzan and the fucking Ninja Turtles.
Bro, that man is buff as a bitch, bro. I swear.
You take his shirt off and his back looks like the shell of Raphael. Donatello.
Yeah, Donatello.
Where's the fucking
night night? Sleep time.
Night. That was a Trick 2G reference.
Yeah. Shout out Trick.
It's time to go. It's time to go night night. But at the end of the day, like, he is a beast. He came up to me one day, and like we thought very mentally in the same capacity. And we were at a party or something. We're drinking. He goes, "I don't fucking get why we have all the answers on our phones and these stupid bitches don't go on Google and search things up." And I was like, "What?" Like, yeah, like what am I doing with my life? And then from then on, I've been literally like, it's one of those things that we don't realize. And like,
yeah, and this isn't, and
YouTube's fucking huge.
Right. And to put this in a broader perspective, it's not just like, it isn't just as simple as the answer is on your phone. It is, the answer is within your fingertips. You just have to reach out and look for the answer and do some searching. If it takes you, it's not going to be as instantaneous as the gratification that we are used to getting.
Yeah.
If you actually want to achieve something. Now, some things may come easier to certain people. You kind of luck into certain situations, yada, 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 right? But you going through, like Nick said, going through the process of the hard work that it takes to put into anything worthwhile. It doesn't matter what it is. Anything worthwhile will require some hard work, right? If you go through that process of the hard work, you will eventually find success, even if it doesn't mean a promotion or a new car, or you finally be able to afford the house that you wanted. You are a better person for going through the process of your hard work, even though you might think that people have inhibited you along the way, or circumstances have inhibited you along the way. You are ultimately a better person for going through that process. And I think that is something that people are lacking nowadays, or not lacking in terms that they're not going through it. I think that they aren't willing to see that hard work pays off in the end. And I think I generally think that people do actually work hard. I just don't think that people take the time to reflect within themselves to see how it has paid off.
There's two statements in there that are really important. Is that like I think that one of the reasons why I even started doing this in general was because people look at success or doing a good job in anything and the complete wrong ideas, a complete wrong way, and they don't really realize the actual steps and things that they've done and how accomplished or successful they truly are. And like if you can sit back and reinvent that success into a way that really people understand that, okay, the path that I'm taking, I'm actually doing really well. Or they actually look at the bigger picture and see how far they've come in doing these things.
Right.
That's really, really, really huge. I have a fucking another point. I forgot what the fuck it was.
ADHD brains, y'all.
Exactly. Reinventing success. And then, I don't fucking know. Fucking know, man. But I know one thing is like, at the end of the day, I would like there's so many things I'd like to do in my life. There's so many things that I really want to put my time and effort into. And I want to create environments where I can do things that I want to do and also have fun doing it and want to get better at it. And like, as much as right now I have a couple things really cool lined up. Right now, I'm literally a waiter at a restaurant, and I get to talk to people constantly. And I eat really fucking good food. Like my place is a really good restaurant. I had a fucking turkey. It's called a tome turkey sandwich today. It was.
And I just want to give a shout out to Nick right here. He is working as a waiter at a restaurant right now, and him and Zach Otts put this podcast together, and on the Doors podcast and behind the Doors podcast that we're on right now, or a conversation that we're having right now. He's doing this as a side project, something that he looks to further in the future. If you don't think that you have the time to do it, this man is proof that you have the time to do it. And that's something that I could probably learn. I need to learn from Nick. Is that
that's why this conversation's happening.
That is something that you need to recognize, that you do have the time to do it.
Dude, I mean, if you really like one of the things that like I like, I know this is funny. My ex-girlfriend Katie, you know her, she's honestly that bitch. But like she instilled in me the fact that like basically you put time and effort in things that you really want to put your time and effort in. Like that's hard. Like I'm a very ADHD person. I get up late. I do these different things. I'm not a perfect individual, but at the end of the day, it's like if you look at things on a grander terms, instead of like, I don't like being told to do things. I don't like being told to do chores or anything, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, if I have a schedule planned out and doing different things, like if I sit down and make 10, 20 minutes of effort to do something like this, again, it develops over time. Exactly. Yeah. And like, it's redefining that thing in people's heads that it takes so much time and effort to do something rather than initially doing it and just starting into it. And like,
right.
I don't know, over time, I really appreciate that because it like, it's so different from the outside perspective sometimes, as well as like people have their own lives.
It is like what we're talking about is like it's like the perfect analogy or the epitome of going on Instagram and seeing like some Instagram thought or some like influencer, quote unquote, that just shows their lifestyle, doesn't really show what's going on behind the scenes, or people who are truly successful and only put their success on Instagram, social media, whatever you want it, whatever medium it is. If they are truly successful, there was a lot of hard work that it took to get them there. Yeah. And there are going to be periods of hardship, and that hardship is something that you will learn from. It's something that we've been talking about for the past 20 minutes. It will eventually turn into something. Go ahead.
I think that's one of the interesting things too, is I think that we don't, I went through a really interesting phase over the past year. I was doing the Doors podcast. I graduated from college. I was taking a full-time job that could have made me $54,000 a year. And I was working as a student teacher. And me and my ex broke up. And then I was like, this isn't working. My job at Panda Express wasn't working for me. And I was like, yo, my mental capacity right now is like not where it needs to be at all. And like, I took a 6-month break from life. Like, I mean, I still lived, but I had a mental, like I went on a mental break, I guess you could say. And I think that one of the things I learned is that you have to be able to give yourself slack and understand that sometimes that it wasn't the right moment to do things too. And like a real good example of it is the DOORS is literally, there was a point where we like, I mean, I have a ridiculous amount of knowledge in this book about how to grow and build audiences and to get people's attention to do different things. But what I realized is that I was forcing something so hard to happen. And you can't do that in life. Like I'm very flow state kind of guy. I have to be in a certain kind of, like the way the conversation is going right now, I'm in a very much flow state where
this conversation is like how Nick's life and brain works.
Exactly. It snowballs. It feeds off itself. And like one of the things is I was fortunate to happen, and we literally got to a place where we just stopped almost everything we were doing. But it got to December and we were like, I was sitting there with Zach and I was like, yo, dude, I was like, honestly, like, I just need a fucking mental break. I need to take a break off this. We need to take a step back, realize what we really want to do, how we want to do it, and we'll come back in the new year. Right. I think that it's important that people realize that even if you have a dream, a goal or something like that too, is stop putting a timeline on letting it happen. And if it flows into the state that you're trying to do, of course, you always can make time and effort and energy into things, but it's, all right, it's time. I want to do this. It feels right. The flow state's happening. I think that if there's
there is kind of like a almost like Zen-like nature to like kind of how that happens, right?
Yeah.
I think my input to that would be everything that Nick said is 100% true, but for short-term goals and long-term goals, you eventually do need to have concrete things that you want to achieve. And these things are not just juxtaposed. They do coincide. Yeah. What Nick is talking about and what I just said do eventually coincide.
They don't smack. They allow you, what they do is it's the perfect analogy from someone. George, is your life very structured?
My work life is. I don't consider my life entirely super structured, but yes.
Okay, then never mind. So basically, they're like, for someone like me, or like, imagine you have, again, exactly what he's saying. You have a juxtaposition where you're just trying to accomplish your goals, and you have a juxtaposition where it's okay, put this to fucking work.
Yeah.
You're not going to reach the top with this one, or where you want to be with this one, if you're trying to really do something crazy, like buy a fucking mountain. Or be the baddest DJ, or do whatever you want to do.
Or go on vacation, take your family on vacation, or have enough money to go travel, or have enough money to buy a new car, or to go hang out with your friends. Sometimes those things it's not the right time, and you can accept that.
But sometimes at the same time, you have to make those plans follow through with your actions.
Exactly.
And that is very fucking important. There's a great point about this, but like, you can't, like, they coincide. Like I'm starting to get to there too. And that's hard because like right now, one of the things I've realized through the DOORS is like, if I really want to get somewhere, like I have to start putting hours in. I have to start putting hours in like a work job, like a week. So like for what we're doing now is now, like, I have to make sure that the video's edited and posted on Sundays. I have to make sure that we have a conversation every Monday for at least an hour about the things that we want to accomplish together, separately, and the things that we need to focus on moving forward. And by doing that, keeping that in mind allows us to, it's not so forceful. I hate that forceful shit. I don't want to be wait, say that again?
What I was going to say is like, sometimes that uncomfortability between the forcefulness of you making yourself, because you making yourself do something is easier in certain things than it is in others. When it comes to, and it differs between person to person, right? Some people are very long-term oriented, where they can make the short-term goals happen and channel up in the pyramid to the long-term goal. That doesn't necessarily the same between people to people. So I understand where you're going with this, where it's like you have to reconcile where you are and who you are as a person to where you could be as a person and where your goals align in that trajectory.
Well,
right?
Yes, completely. I think there's here's a really good like exercise that I've done that puts me in my place, I guess. And I haven't done it too much, but like thought about it slightly, and I'm like, oh fuck. Because we see, like, I'm a dreamer, I guess you could say. A lot of people are dreamers, or just they think of possible solutions, exactly what he's talking about, to futures that might possibly exist. Okay, then I would take a second and then reverse that. How bad could your life fucking be? Like, what are the possibilities that you could take in the near future that would end up horribly? I could picture them, and I'm like, as long as I'm doing better than that, I'm doing something. I'm successful in some way.
Right. So going back to the point that you were making about the structure of it all, I think of myself as kind of like not the opposite of Nick, but kind of like a compliment to Nick, where he has a certain lofty goal in mind, and I'm the guy that can make that happen. I fall somewhere in the middle where I don't like a whole lot of structure. I like to kind of like follow my own workflow. I can make whatever I want to make happen, and whatever other people that I might be working for or working in conjunction with, I can make those things happen. But I don't really like the structure. So there's all these different factors that you're working towards in your organization, in your friend group, in the group that you are trying to achieve these goals with, that will lead to success. So what Nick is saying about having the structure behind certain things and what you need to accomplish and how it's going to happen, and all these factors that kind of flow up into that, it is all things that you need to consider, and it is all things that you also don't need to take it all on you. There are certain things that you can push to other people. We call that in the business world, we call that delegation. You push it to somebody else who is better at the certain thing than you are.
Yes.
And this is where the toxic self-reliance kind of comes in, and the healthy self-reliance comes in. If you listen to any business person's podcast, you will kind of hear the same flow up to where they are. They did pretty much everything at first. They found somebody better at a certain task than they were. They delegated the task to them, and through years of doing that system and kind of taking up the burden where it fell short upon themselves, or pushing it onto somebody else that they trust. That's how they got to where they are. And that is the culmination of this whole fucking thing, right? Of your hard work and your persistence through the beginning of your struggle to get where you want to be is eventually alleviated by that hard work and your ability to say, I need to take a step back.
Yeah. And I think that's exactly what it is. I mean, that's going to be one of the hardest things moving forward in any direction. I think that,
and it doesn't matter what field. It doesn't matter what you want to do.
Bit. So imagine at this point too, if you're building something like me and Zach are building, we have completely different mindsets, completely different skill sets, completely different views on a lot of different things. But to build something like I want to build, like he wants to build, we have to not only develop ourselves in certain ways, we have to delegate tasks certain ways. And sometimes it's not easy. Sometimes it doesn't go perfectly. And sometimes we have to take a step back and realize, okay, what steps do I need to take? I think that one of the what people do we need to add? How do we need to do things? And especially for something that doesn't make money. I have not made I've made things. I think we sold 3-4 shirts ever, and they're not that cool shirts. I mean, they're cool shirts. They're not the greatest ones ever, but I mean, if we're gonna ever do something cool.
Right.
It'd probably be beanies. Like, we don't have that big of a following. But at the end of the day, like, for me to do this for almost 2 years now. We started in October.
It feels like forever ago now.
Like
to be
July of 2019.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's that I put that much attention towards it because I do enjoy it. I really do enjoy it. I think that, again, I was talking to you earlier about conveying emotions and things out of your actual mouth. I think that it is such meditation, such a relieving aspect of my own life to be able to speak and put it out into actual existence where people just hear it.
Right.
And like, I get a high off of it, honestly. Like, it's nice to not only convey my emotions through my actual words, but put the actual meaning behind them from my actions rather than just speaking. And I really do enjoy that. But as we move forward, like, I'm not going to be able to run, like, I want to build a conference, right? I want to do these things. I'm not going to be able to run a conference by myself. I'm not going to be able to run a...
How would you be able to do that? You would have to have 48 hours in a day.
You have to have 48 hours in a day. You delegate time to someone else. But that's where, like, one of the things that I'm trying to do as the Doors is, like, I'm trying to find people. I mean, as we go along, it's going to build and build and build. And what I would like to do eventually is, because I have these things that are going on, such as the convention and blah, blah, I want to bring people on that are so passionate about what they do and want to make it somehow connected to the Doors, such as, like, here's a good aspect I talked to Zach about recently, literally. I was like, as much as we love to coincide with each other at the Doors and the podcast, that's our thing. We love it. But to develop this, we have completely different schedules. I was like, how are we going to stay interested enough to be in those moments and continue to better ourselves when we're counteracting this and we can't really coincide on that? And this is what we came up with. It was that we can work together to a certain extent to the podcast, which is not like, we don't have to push it that aggressively. We can put things out there so that people enjoy it and actually build upon it. But if we really want to make this our thing, we also have to have our own things. So my thing is behind the doors, or at least the kind of conversations that we're having right now. This is my third episode, like we've been talking, but I wanted to develop into something where we can have these conversations, these deep conversations. I truly do know George, but again, these conversations let me know him on another level, as well as we're talking on a basis of so many really important questions.
Right.
And he's going to have his own thing, and he's talking about doing some videos like this too, but it's putting our time and effort into something that we believe in ourselves wholly as well. And as I grow, as this company organization, the Doors, actually grows, whoever may join or whatever it is in the future, because right now we're not making any money, people just join and do fun stuff or whatever they wanted to do. And I don't even know how that would work ever yet, but it could happen, is I want them to take part in something as a team together, but I want them to have their own fucking thing. No matter how big my fucking company gets, if it's 300,
and you want to trust them to do their own thing.
Because that's what makes them interested. That's what makes them happy about actually.
The micromanaging is going to hurt you in the end. You want to build a network of somebody that you trust
I want people to love their jobs. I want people to, like, as much as I love communicating in this way, I want someone to love their ability to do this and whatever they want, whatever happens through the Doors, as so much that they literally just, they build upon it. And, like, I want it to grow and blossom like that. Like, cause I have an image of what the building could look like that I ever have the Doors. Cause it'd be fucking cool. Cause it'd have like a tumble track, fucking basketball court, a fucking trampoline.
It'd just be a multi-complex.
Be a multi-complex with a few offices.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like, I think it's so important that you have your own things as well that you can build upon. And whoever, like, if I have a 300-person company, I don't give a shit. I want people to have their own projects that they can work on that aren't, as long as they're not like fucking like, I'm going to go have sex in a dungeon. Like, you know. And I'm going to make
a video about it of like, oh, my sexual experience in a torture chamber.
All of a sudden you see George fuck.
But I think to bring this down to more like base level for certain people. I think that one of the important things that I think that people need to understand, and this is something that I've talked to Shandy, me and Nick's coach, about before. Obviously, like he said, he is very much a realist. He is very not traditional, but like old in thought. And there is nothing wrong with you accepting your lot in your career if the end goal will make you happy. Like for me, I would like to do something like this, like it's something that Nick is like what Nick and Zach are doing pretty much full time, because I am a very conversational person. I like a lot of different things. I have a pretty decent knowledge on a lot of certain things. This is totally separate from my job, right? I find my job pretty tedious. There are certain things that I find super interesting, but I wouldn't necessarily say that I probably enjoy it 65 to 70% of the time. And there is nothing wrong, and this is something that Shandy told me, is there's nothing wrong with that if it is making your ends meet and making me have somewhere that I can go afterwards, or some money that I can put into a side project or something like that would make me happy at the end of the day. Nothing has to be short term. There are some things that are inevitably going to be long term. So if you cannot make a change in your life right now, make a change in the future, or plan for a change in the future, or plan for something that you can have gratification from in the future.
And that's,
Nick, do you think that all lawyers enjoy their job? Do you think that all doctors enjoy their job?
Fuck no.
What are they doing that for?
The sustainability and interest.
The interest and the sustainability. Yeah, exactly. So some things interest them in their jobs. But the sustainability of, yes, this comes down to money to a certain extent, but that sustainability does have an impact, because it can provide you with the ability to do things in the future that you wouldn't have thought to be conceivable before.
Yeah, and that's completely.
This is something that you and Zach have put on. Essentially, it wasn't cost free, but it was fairly minimal in cost, right? What if it's
basically?
What if it's something bigger? What if it's something that you want to? Let's say I just want to have. I'm just an average working person, and I would like to have some little plot of land where I could take my family. We could have a good time, even if it's just half an acre of land where I could take my family and we could just be together. That is a good goal.
Yeah.
It is not, there is no objective of what is a successful person.
Success is in the eye of the beholder.
Success is in the eyes of the beholder.
Sex is in the behind of the beholder.
Yes, exactly. But
Innovate,
like, so for example,
adapt, overcome.
Adapt, overcome. CUM. So
Kim Kardashian, yeah.
For like, this is the perfect, I guess, perfect kind of like analogy of where we're going, or the perfect kind of parallel. So my family owns land in Door County. My grandparents, my grandpa married into this land. So it's on my paternal grandmother's side where this land comes from. And it's on our, my grandma had two great uncles. They own a share of the land, and it's passed down to their kids because they both passed, and my cousins. So my grandparents, my grandpa and my grandma, didn't have the money to put into the plot of land on this overall plot of land that is allocated to them. That's something that my dad, my aunt, and I have been talking about to develop. And that's something obviously outside of the realm that we've been talking about, something that I could put my future money, my future interest, my future time into. And I could still do like a podcast like this in the future. And the money or the sustenance would come from whatever I was actually making money from, whether it be a podcast in the future, or whether I stay in the job that I have now. It is not an unworthwhile goal.
Yes, I think that's so important what Shandy taught you. And I think that one of the things that I really like, my buddy Lake, when I lived in Florida, we had one night one time the plan was to get blazed, bro. Time was to get fucked up. The plan was to get litty titties. And then, so we're sitting there and
litty titties.
DJ, some milk. Oh my gosh, the fucking memories, bro. But moving on, the amount of we got fucked up in college, y'all. We went hard, but
harder in the paint than some of y'all have ever gone.
So we ended up we're driving to his place, and he takes a right instead of going straight to this one light. And I'm like, well, bro, what the fuck's going on? What are you doing? He goes, dude, we gotta go get food so that future Lake is taken care of and that he'll be happy. I'm like, what? What did you just say? He's like, I gotta go do this so that I know that in the future I'll be okay, because we're about to get blazed and we're gonna forget that we had food, and then we got food and we're fucking like, damn, past Nick's a fucking G. Like, and so one of the things that
is the perfect micro fucked up college kid analogy to what we were exactly just talking about. Your forethought in certain things will save your ass going forward.
Yeah, but look, it's those micro plannings that matter. I think that's like one of the things that I've been living on for the past 2 years, especially the DOORS, is like I've been stating is like, I'm making moves right now that future Nick's gonna be like, damn, past Nick's a fucking G. Like, past Nick's fucking dope because he started this. I'm at where I'm at because of this. And like, I think that's the mental.
And even if it sucks during the time being where you were past Nick.
I mean, but we know gymnastics, dude.
Whoever it was.
I think that comes, but like, especially for me and you, someone like Jonas, someone like my brother, people that we know that have been through gymnastics, dude, fucking, if you've been any good amount of time in gymnastics, bro, you've done skills on skills.
Yeah, any sport or any career, you know that.
You're right. You're putting the time and effort
into. It all flows up.
It all flows up. It's not the master of everything, but at the end of the day, doing something 10,000 times allows you to be the master of it. And like, if you put in that time and little effort, like you won't. The amount of things that I've done that I didn't expect I'd be able to do in the amount of time is crazy. The amount, I'm playing on a game of patience, and that really sucks because I'm a very impatient fuck.
I am incredibly impatient myself,
and it fucking sucks. Like one of the things I've been doing lately. I told you about those 5 things I speak out loud, like whatever it is. I'll be sitting there the other day, dude, and I'll just be like, you're being like, I'll state it out loud. Like I'll get like a moment of clarity, and like I'll say it out. I'll speak into existence so I can feel it really in my chest. I'm like, you're a fucking little bitch, or like you're dumb as shit. Shut the fuck up.
Anybody who is listening to this that thinks they aren't a bitch, you're lying to yourself. You are a bitch.
You little dirty bitch. You know it.
You all have a moment of bitchness every once in a while.
You crusty asshole little bitch.
Yeah, and that's okay. But that's okay.
No, that's completely fine.
You don't have to be somebody that you are trying to be all the time. Your emulation of yourself or your
that's a
future
fucking
self
good word.
It is not who you are right now. However, there are certain steps that you need to take to get there, and you pushing yourself through hard times is exactly the steps that you need to get to where you want to be.
Listen, and I urge, like, even you, George, like, whatever you fucking want to do, just take a fucking single step. Whether it be music, a podcast, talking like this. I mean, we could talk. I mean, dude, I love you, bro. Like, we could easily do anything. I mean, we could figure things out at the end of the day, or even I could help you take steps in the right direction. But I want to see, one of the things that I love to do is, the reason why I do any of this is I love seeing people succeed. And like, the reason why I'm even creating this circle at all that I have is because at the end of the day, it's people like you. I know you work hard. I know you have a great mindset. I know your mind, how it works, because I know you. I have a lot of really good friends that have a mindset like this, but it can be through anything. And it's like, what's like, we have our friend Kahari. I have my friend Matthew DeJesus, who's very,
shout out Kahari. If you haven't checked out,
I am so proud of him. Literally, I'm about to pull up his Instagram page. I will put it on here.
Nick, I'm gonna go grab a drink. You shout him out in the meantime.
Go ahead. Look, so our boy Kahari, he was okay, you just turned your video off. It's all good. Our boy Kahari right here. Kahari Rahim. Look at this. It's like you can't even see it. KHARI.ARAHEEM. This motherfucker, he was our mascot for 4 years while I cheered in college. And he went to school at Austin Peay State University for art. And number one, his art is fantastic, and he's a fantastic mascot, an amazing guy to be in general. But for the past, since I've known him, he's been painting. But since he's been painting about the Black Renaissance figures, into an extent of slavery and Black history, and how that all coincides into how Black and African American people feel today. And I will say, number one, he's blown up over the past year and a half because of everything that's going on. But he is an amazing guy, doing amazing things, and I think he's going to change the game and how people understand and feel what they're going through, to the extent through art, because we'll never be able to put ourselves fully in their shoes. And guys, he is doing it. He's got shows in New York. He's got shows in California right now. I know he has some in Florida and in Texas. And these are just art shows. And my man's 20. He's almost in his 30s now. And he is just, I couldn't be more proud of the man. Like, it's beautiful what he's done. It's beautiful to watch what he's done. And like, that's the kind of shit I constantly crave in my life. I crave people that crave, and like, or have that, the mental capacity, or things that they know that it can be better, which allows them to, like, if I create a circle of individuals, George, Kahari, Matt, Zach, all these people I know that are, in a sense, doesn't matter if they're forward, behind, left, right, whatever they're doing, but if I can talk to them in a way like this, like, I'm living life good. I'm enjoying it. There's people I'm surrounded by that are living their life in a way that allows them to accomplish the things they want to do. George he's financially stable. He has a good job. He has you and your fiance are doing great. I love you all together. And it's just, it's like those moments in life. Cora's fucking, you're a beast. I love you. You're great. But like,
I picked a winner on that one, huh?
Yeah. It's fucking crazy. Dude, I can't believe you're when are you getting married, man?
So we're doing a religious ceremony in May. So we'll be technically married then, and then we're gonna have like the reception with everybody in 2022 in summer. So everybody we'll do like an informal, non-religious ceremony to like have the presentation of us, etc. Show us getting, like, essentially it'll be like exactly a year afterwards or so. So it'll essentially be like kind of like a super anniversary, kind of pseudo super early vow renewal essentially for the ceremony, and then do a big reception where like Nick and everybody else gets together and has a fun time kind of celebrating us.
And that's understandable. Maurice is doing something the same. I think that, like, what's so great about marriage too is that, like, I think so many people put so many labels on things and how you should do things, but at the end of the day, you can fucking do whatever the fuck you want. Like, no one gives a shit. At the end of the day, you know? It's crazy. Life is crazy at all.
It is wild. All right, I have a question for you, kind of going off of what we were just talking about before.
All right, I'm listening.
So when do you think, we were talking about before how you need to kind of delegate and find people that kind of share your values and share your interests, or share at least the passionate thing that they have for, if it fits in with your vision of where you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
When do you start to cut people off? That's something that we haven't talked about. And that is a very important thing that people need to consider.
Well, okay, so in general, for anything you're trying to build,
and this isn't going to be like any hard goals, but I want to kind of get your.
No, this is important. This is an important time. Like if I end up building a company again, if I have all these individuals and I see it, like, I think that number one, this thing should be almost to the goals that I have. I mean, it depends. It's very situational. I'm going to go off of what I'm doing because I can only speak based on the situations that I might possibly go through and how I might act. And like my group, like I've already seen it, people posting crazy stuff on Facebook sometimes. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I think that one thing should be is that we're not trying to influence people to exactly think a certain way, or we're not forcing our facts and opinions on people. I think that kind of really, I think that's a boundary that needs to be set as well as things go forward. I think that also it's how much, this is a really hard one too, and I don't know how I would address it in the moment until I'm at that moment, but if you're working with a group of individuals or one-on-one with someone or blah, blah, you're trying to build something. And I think it's one of the things that the DOORS, I'm trying to instill as we continue to move forward. Me and Zach have been very truthful to each other. I think as we continue to develop, even with more people, whatever it is, that has to stay very honest in the situation. And it can't be, I don't think you can hide your emotions behind that. I think that you have to be able to be open, understanding to those situations and be truthful, again, self-aware, if you will, to your actions and what you're doing. Because imagine so I'm just going to put myself in perspective. Imagine we hired someone and me and Zach are moving forward, blah, blah. And my goal is to continue to move forward in this way. And this person is just lacking. This person isn't putting the time and effort they need into. They're not finding the juxtaposition. They're not being in that moment pushing forward. I'd probably give them a chance until I prove them, until I have enough evidence to really show that they're not doing what I want, like they're not actually passionate about it or not putting the time and effort into it. It's been addressed and continually addressed. Yes, that's when you let go time. And like, that's one of the things, again, I talked to you about, really putting your mindset to your time and effort into something. I've also been much more, I'm learning that being upfront and honest about situations, no matter how hard or trivial the actual position may be, depending on the situation, definitely depending on the situation, because there's some crazy shit that goes down in people's lives, and sometimes you don't need to deal with that in the moment. Sometimes you need to avoid it. Definitely depends. But at the end of the day, like, if I'm in a situation where I'm working my ass off and I want to accomplish something, and someone's real actions don't coincide with that being able to happen. Yeah. And I communicate that to them straightforward and nothing is done. That's it. There's no hard feelings. I'm not going to feel emotional about it. Like, the people that I really want to work with too are my friends. I want to work with my friends. I want to know you. I want to get to know you. I want you to be in that circle. I want that to happen. But at the end of the day, if you can't understand the goals that I'm trying to accomplish, doesn't always have to have you. Or it might have to have you, but that's up to you. That's not up to me.
I think that something that people struggle with, I'm not even going to say nowadays, because I think that people have always struggled with it, is when the people that you grew up with, or people that you know, people that are your current friends, and people that you have a good time with, whatever it may be, there is a certain point where your goals may not coincide. And that is okay. It's completely fine. However, when it is starting to be detrimental. So me and my friend Justin, my line brother in my fraternity, we're having this conversation, and he is a super hardworking dude. And me and him were having a conversation, and he was like, yeah, some of my friends that I made down here, I in Nashville, where he lives, all they want to do is go out. And he's 2 years older than me.
That's a lot of fucking money. Dude, that's
exactly. So all they want to do is go out and like fuck around and flaunt and like flex on the gram and all this stuff. And it's like, I do not care about this. And I can tell that this is a lifestyle that you will be living. So I can kind of like try to steer you in the right direction. But at a certain point, if you do not take, and neither one of us would say that we are all knowing, omnipotent. We don't
we
know,
through
but
our
we
own
have
experiences.
Yes. So when it comes to that point and you have a situation like that where somebody that you used to be friends with or that you consider yourself a friend is simply not furthering themselves and they will not listen to you, I think that is an appropriate time for you to be like, okay, I'm going to take a step back. Come to me when you are ready. And you can welcome them back. And I think that one of the things that people don't, and people fail to realize, is that you can welcome those people back. They might not welcome you back because a lot of the time people do not want to hear your harsh words or your criticism. And you may not always be right. But at the end of the day, if you are saying something that may ultimately be correct, they probably don't want to hear that. And if they don't welcome you back, even after they have figured their shit out, that's okay. It is okay.
You can only control your actions and your own thoughts.
People, at the end of the day, people are going to do whatever they want to do.
Exactly. And I think like I've had friends where I've had to back off. Like I've had best friends I haven't talked to in like any very long time, or like I haven't enacted like I have with them like in a very long time. And it's because of the way they treat me or put me in certain situations that aren't unfavorable or definitely make me uncomfortable, or they aren't treating people that I care about in the right way they should.
Right.
And like, I've had to back off. It's not that I'm not their friends, but they have to prove it to me that there actually can be a sense of understanding of the things that I'm trying to do, as well as like,
and this is kind of where we get into the like values talk, right?
Yeah.
Because if you're the thing that is most important, I think, that in anybody's life is having people that have the same values that you have. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't have conversations with the people that you do not share the same values with. I think that you can still be friends with those people, but I think that mutual respect in that case, if that isn't being reconciled, then it's time to say, okay, I'm good. And even if the friends that you do have that your values are kind of coinciding with, if they are messing up or if they are doing something wrong and you have to take a step back and they don't welcome you back after you taking some time away, it's okay. It might not be, and it might not feel right. It might feel like you lost something, but eventually it will be okay.
And y'all,
it will be okay.
Whoever's listening 2.5 hours into this podcast, thank you.
Fucking for real.
But I mean, at the end of the day, so like if this ends up becoming something more, at the end of the day, people do come back, and like my self-care, when people do still go back and watch that video, surprisingly, like, and that's the important information doesn't go in. It's if it's out there, it doesn't stop being out there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And like, this is very important. Like, I think that people fear so much of the unpredictableness of life, but change is the only thing that's constant. And like, as much as you might want something to happen, I'm going to go another quote in here. I'm sorry. Jim Carrey's commencement speech in 2014. I really do enjoy commencement speech because I think they celebrate the moving on and trying to understanding adulthood, as well as communicating past experiences in a way. Jim Carrey is an amazing man. He's done a lot of amazing things. He's a very excellent speaker. He's a very excellent
speaker.
Fuck, dude.
I speak well.
Oh my gosh. And what's important is that he said this is, your job is not to open the door in your life. You can't physically always make the things happen that you want to happen. But what you can do is open the door in your mind. When the door opens in real life, all you got to do is walk right through. So,
I think that perfectly sums up not only what we were talking about before, but that's the general theme of like this whole back hour and a half.
I mean, and it is, but people don't, and I think that's so hard again to self-actualize in the moment when you're doing things, because we think so long-term, short-term, in between, everything's trying to go in our brains at the same time. It's when do we have time to address these things? When do we have time to think about these things? Unless you're actually making
and they happen, and they do happen subconsciously, largely, right? I mean, there is no person on the fucking earth, and if they tell you they are a liar, that is making every single decision constantly, and I'm making these moves, and I'm doing this and this, and I got everything thought out. No, you fucking don't. You do not, because you cannot plan for certain uncertainties.
That's why we have free will. What the fuck? Like, you can't.
Yeah.
Like I could sit here right now and go, bah, you can't stop me. Like, that's my own free will. Like, everyone, 7.8 billion people on this fucking planet have free will. How can you control any of that?
Right.
And I think that's there's a beauty to that. There's a beauty to the unknown. And if you're open to, again, like, I think if we're going to go into a little bit of religious things right now, I think too, is that so the moment, what I'm doing right now, if I let these doors open in my mind, and I have things that I'd like to. The doors. So if someone clips that in the future, that's some fucking
Nick Sternloff and George Bezold make fun of mentally handicapped people. No, that is not what we are doing. Come on now, y'all. That is not what we're doing.
All right, but look, but like in those, if you let those doors just, if you take a back seat to you have your actions in the moment, you have the things you'd like to accomplish, but you take a back seat to allowing them to happen, and you just continue to make moves forward in any direction. I think that you almost get guided by a divine spiritual energy of mental flow, a flow state that's destiny, whatever you want to call it. But that's only if you allow yourself to continually to be in a place that you're allowed to fail, continue to better yourself, and you're patient and perseverant.
So there was a group that I was part of back in the day called Worldwide Ventures. If anybody's listening to this and
heard about
Worldwide, don't fucking do it. It's a scam. They're fucking robbing you, and it's bullshit.
Fuck y'all.
But what they would talk about is God damn it! Now I'm gonna fucking
Worldwide Ventures. Prestige.
It was
worldwide.
Prestige worldwide. I'm on a boat. It was called velocity, momentum. It was called momentum, keeping it going forward. I would say that their word of momentum and keeping your progress going forward is actually perseverance. It is not your momentum. It is eventually your hard work. Yes, it might be quote unquote momentum, something that is resting will rest, something that is moving will move. But it is eventually your perseverance and your picking it back up if you drop it for a sec that gets you going forward. So I exactly concur with Nick, where you can keep going no matter what. And if you stumble, you can pick it back up through perseverance. It's not through momentum. It is through perseverance.
Well, I mean, like, even like this, look, again, like I said earlier, we were on a break, fucking friends, Ross and Rachel. But like, you stop thinking about if you loved art, imagine you loved art and you stopped art for 5 years. If you start thinking, oh my gosh, I did art for 5 years and now I can't do it again, but now look, now take yourself aback from that situation, just like my camera did.
And it's refocused now. Oh my God, look, it's converging. It's all the same thing.
Oh my God. Fucking Kevin Hart. Oh my God.
Somebody come look at this.
Somebody come look at this. Have you seen this new one? Fucking the one in his house on Netflix.
No, I haven't.
Fucking
yet.
good, dude. You gotta
it?
watch. Like Kevin Hart's a G, dude. He sells like one shit. He brings every one brick oven pizza. He gives him a bop.
Give him a bop.
But like, if you stop thinking, if you start like I'm trying to do my best to be patient and persevere, because here's what I think on real long-term scales, like, of course I can fucking do a convention if I do it in 50 years. Like, if I do 1 minute a day for 50 years, that ain't shit. Like, I could walk outside and piss and it takes me a minute, but that adds up over time. And if you start thinking of painting, instead of being, oh gosh, I stopped 5 years. Oh, I've done painting 5 years of my life. I still have a lifetime. There's no reason I can't start again.
Right.
Like, stop putting limiting factors on things and stop letting
the limiting factors thing is a big issue.
Well, parents, I think parents, family, and society they judge so much based upon people's actions, when who gives a fucking shit?
Especially society nowadays, it is not conducive to you taking a break. It is not conducive to you. Everybody loves a redemption story, but nobody loves the fucking shit between you being great, you falling off, and your redemption story. They might like it in passing, you saying that, yeah, I was in some hard times and I had to go through those hard times to get to where I am now. Nobody wants to hear your shit. You have to.
No one looks at your shit either. There are some people that do, but not the majority of people don't look at your shit, and the majority of people don't want to hear about your shit.
No.
Here's one of the things I've learned about through the doors.
And that's the importance of having that group of people that you can delegate to, and not just delegate to. This isn't a fucking working relationship. People that are your friends to get you through that.
Well, and I think that
don't discount before you continue, Nick. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Do not discount the people that were there for you through the hard times. Those people made you what you are. They made you what you are. Your parents did. People like Shandy did to me and Nick. Jonah certainly has for me, and I'm pretty much 100% certain he has at least talked to you about some shit. We're good friends. Like, don't get me wrong. We've been in situations, we've talked very deep about different things. Like, we definitely, again, it's someone like me and George. We might not agree on everything, but we're friends. We understand each other to a level, and we listen to each other and can move on from there. And I just want to point out that me and Nick reconnected over. We have been friends this entire time. Yeah. Since 2016, when Roy was in fucking Spectrum and our 2015. Me and Nick have had a standing relationship since then, and we've reconnected over the past couple months over a video game, League of Legends, and we started having these conversations when it was just me and him late at night, just talking about this shit. And those are the people that actually count in your life, your family, the people that you consider your family that aren't blood. Those people actually count in your life, and it isn't the people that go the old adage, fair weather friends. Those people eventually will not matter. It is the people that are there for you now that are pushing you forward.
So one of the things that is like I've been changing my whole mental capacity about the things that I'm trying to do, because like I thought about this scenario is like, okay, what aside from anything I want to do as a person at all, if I am 60 years old, what do I want my life to look like? And I was like, all right, aside from monetary
what
things,
do you want your life to look at 60?
So
65. Let's say retirement age, 65 and a half.
So to look like, number one, like I'm going to talk about the topic I was going into, and then I'll go into the rest of it.
Yep,
so the most important thing I wanted to do is I want to have my friends. Like, I want to have a group of people that I can consistently talk to, that I care about, that I want to be part of their lives, when they're part of my lives in some sort of fashion. We keep up with each other because I enjoy talking on deep conversations with people I care about, and life lessons, whatever I might do. It might be against each other in a certain perspective or whatever it is, but I enjoy it. So I was like, how do I make that happen? I was like, okay, cool. I got to talk to my friends. I got to call them often. I got to message them. I got to do whatever, wherever it may be, where we spend multiple hours a week on our fucking Discord chat for for League of Legends. I call my buddies after work. My buddy Coda, I call after work almost every day. Talk to my brother on the phone almost every day. My sister, my mom, my dad, my grandparents, Roy. I call these people and talk to them in some sort of fashion or keep up with them in some sort of fashion. And y'all, it's not always perfect. One of my best friends, Sean, like I was talking to earlier, we just rekindled a relationship that I've known him since I was 6. We rekindled a relationship over 5-6 years. And it was just because he came to town one day and I got to spend some time with him. Sometimes it's good to take some time back, think about the people that really helped you and been there for your life, and then reach out to them. Because you have to realize that everyone, we're lonely human beings. Like George just talked about, George has talked about being at home all the time. I'm stuck with my dad and his fiance in this house too. And like, I don't trust a lot of the people I went to high school with about everything they're doing. I just moved back in last March to here, and like, I don't know anyone. Yeah, it's been 6 years. It's not like I know all these people and like I want to communicate with them. I have friends and I've been able to see some of them. But humans are innately lonely creatures because we spend most of our time in our brains.
Right.
And by ourselves.
And a lot of people, and there are some people that can handle that and can handle the social isolation. I would say that I'm kind of moving towards more of that person, but I could not, even if I'm kind of at that place now where I could move out in the middle of fucking nowhere and be perfectly happy. I
would love it.
However, if I could not contact the people that I care about, that would be a significant issue. It would be a significant issue.
And that's important, y'all. And like, I think that like, number one, I've been able to talk to the people I care about. I understand what's going on in their lives. And I think this is because I felt like I was a good perspective is when I moved down to Florida, I didn't talk to my brother or sister for 6 months. Yeah. I wasn't that big brother that I always wanted to be. I grew up a lot in that time because I had to. I was an adult living on my own, figuring things out. But it's being there for people because at the end of the day, you know that they need people to be there for them. And I enjoy being that person. I enjoy also talking to those people. And I want to build a life around those people no matter what. I think that's hugely important. That's when I'm 65, that's something I have to have. I have to be in contact with my friends all the time. I also have a couple of really I want to build my house someday. It's probably going to be somewhere in either I don't want to be in California. I feel like there's too many problems. Oregon, Washington, Utah, Colorado, those 4. I want to be near mountains and I want to be near a lake. It could be even Canada, maybe even Alberta or fucking British Columbia. I am a dual citizen. Cool. I just want mountains and I want a lake. I have to have a boat. I have to have a boat for the summer so I can go out and enjoy the water. I enjoy water so much. I grew up on lakes. I grew up having boats.
Yeah, me too.
I have to be able to snowboard in the winter. I fucking have never been able, like I don't regularly get to go to these things, and I enjoy it thoroughly. I enjoy really winter scenes, snow. I enjoy snowmobiling, hot tubs. I enjoy the cold.
Same fucking thing here.
And like, you understand. So those are some things I really need to have. I have a dream. I have a couple things that I dream. 1 second. There's a couple things I dream about doing, like to my house. Like I really want a cool steam room / bathroom. I have some really cool archway ideas / pool things. Here's an interesting question that I ask a lot of people. If you had to have one ridiculously expensive thing in your house that no one would think is really like, or they would not like, they'd be like, why did you buy that? Like if you had unlimited money to spend on something, what would it be? And do you want me to answer first? I can tell you mine so you get a perspective.
Yeah.
I want a fucking ridiculously expensive chess set. Like I'm talking gold-plated black marble with diamond crowns, like ridiculous. Like fucking, I don't care how much it's cost, but I want it.
I don't know if I can say mine.
It's a giant crusted dildo.
No, it's certainly not that. And I don't know if I can say it on here, but I think that what I would want, I don't think that other than the thing that I'm thinking of, I'm not really a materialistic person. I
enjoy that about myself too. Continue.
And I
Hey, real quick.
Oh, we call that juicy.
I've never done that on Ariel.
Hey,
Oh my God.
it ain't getting cut out either.
Not one bit. I ain't going through this shit. I'm breaking that piece up and I'm just throwing it in a line. That's way too much work. Fuck that.
Fuck that shit. I don't know if I would have a certain thing other than the collection that I'm thinking about. But what I think that I would do is going back to like where we want to be when we're 65 is I kind of like all right, pretty much exactly like you said. I want a house in mountains. And one of the things that I've been really thinking about in the past like 2 or 3 years has been, so I like old things. Traditionally,
I can see you living in a castle.
I don't know if I want a castle. But like the 60s, the 70s, like the 50s, where it was like the golden age of
Gadsby mansions.
Of not necessarily things like that, but like you having the money to spend on another house somewhere.
Yeah, completely
right.
Understandable.
Right. And I understand that people have that now, but it was like all the old stars, Audrey Hepburn, fucking second, Sir Roger Moore from the James Bond series and all his stuff previous. Super good, by the way. They all had houses in Switzerland. And I actually had a dream the other night that I was in the Swiss Alps, and it was in the hills. If you think about the Swiss Alps, when it's not where you aren't too far up, it's still grassy. It's absolutely gorgeous.
It looks beautiful. Anything up there in Norway, all that shit's fucking gorgeous.
That's it in Switzerland, in the Alps. That's where I want my house. That's where I want my retirement home to be.
I think that'd be enjoyable. Number one,
I can go snowboard. Snowboarding probably pretty frowned upon there. I am very much a metalhead rebel myself in a lot of certain ways. So
Dude,
I'll
over there
learn skiing just for the pomp and circumstance of it. But
fuck anyone else's feelings. Stop that shit. Stop that shit. Look, you could be a metalhead over there in Europe. They're fucking crazy. You know that shit. Dude.
But I want a house. I want a house in the Swiss Alps.
Dude, I can see it. And number one, listen. There's no stepping down. We're Irish drinking buds now after this. After we realize this shit.
Yeah,
so
dude. Me and Nick have been drinking a lot of drinking a lot and listening to a lot of Irish drinking songs.
Oh my gosh, I fucking love
I'll
Irish
take that
music.
up for you. It's all good.
Listen. We'll just save it for later. You can drink enough for both of us. But we definitely are going St. Patrick's Day to Dublin. We have to make that happen. It's fucking happening. I'm down. Let's fucking go. Like I'm like one of the things that I'm trying to do again. So we talked about this a little bit in the past, but I'm trying to live a life where I enjoy the moments I have and the things that I do and make ridiculously cool memories. I'm going to be taking a ridiculously cool trip to go see the Northern Lights this winter, hopefully.
Where are you going?
Alberta, Canada, on a 17-day trip. They're road tripping down to
That'd be
Mexico.
Super fucking cool.
And it's a random occurrence, but like I'm trying to now, like I realize now that I'm getting to this point is like the only thing you have to do is take a step forward and try to make something happen. So there's a couple things that I'm doing that I'm going to go do that in Ireland. It's gonna be fucking cool. I want to go see the redwoods in fucking California. Like, have
you ever been to Dublin before?
No, I've never been. I've only been to Canada. I've only been to Canada. That's the only place I've been.
I had a layover there when I was going to visit Cora when she was doing her.
She was doing she was doing in the work study programs.
She was doing study abroad in Germany. I
remember that. That was our freshman year.
Yeah, in a little town called Marburg, which is about 45 minutes, I think, east of Frankfurt, Germany. And so I was going to visit her, and I had a layover in Dublin, and I'm incredibly Irish, incredibly German, and incredibly French. So I got to have two of my, over the course of the trip, I got to visit all three of my like main ancestral places.
Ancestral,
right?
yeah.
Ancestral.
I didn't even say it right, so it doesn't matter.
Ancestral.
Ancestral.
Yes, ancestral places. And Dublin is super fucking cool. I will say, and if you have to go see Trinity College's campus.
Okay.
It is fucking gorgeous.
Well, like, okay, so I'm number one. I need to start traveling more outside the country, but like I have.
Dude, I'll give you some places. I'll give you some places to go. I'll give you the itinerary that me and Cora put together for our 2020 trip that we never got to go on because
Dude, give it to me. Yeah, fuck off.
Dude.
Send
I'm
it to
telling
me.
you.
Down. Listen, and there's some cool things that I would love to go to Tokyo, but like
Japan's
I have
on my list too.
So I have my uncle on my mom's side. So my mom's cousin. His name is Uncle Greg, and he's a professor at the University of London.
Uncle Greg!
Dude, this motherfucker's wild. He's got hair down to his ass. He's had 3 children. All of them are water births, like at-home water births. His wife is a Chinese woman from China.
Ass dude.
He knows 3 languages. He knows 3 languages. His daughter is her name is Qingping, and she's a fucking.
Are you dead ass?
Yes. This is my family. Her name is Qingping. And she is the most badass little kid. She knows 6 fucking languages.
How old is she?
She's probably 10, 12 now. I haven't seen her in a couple years.
Damn.
But like genius. And like he is a thermochemistry professor at the University of London, something like that. And then and his wife ended up working on the concrete and improving it with the Hadron Collider. Like
super cool.
Ridiculously cool things. But like
super smart.
So he literally, I don't know how he got into this conversation, but he has like 5. He has like 5 different homes. He has like they're tiny homes. They're itty bitty homes, and like he has one in Italy, one in London, one in like China. Like it's pretty cool. But like, and he doesn't have a phone. He doesn't use a phone other than the one at work. His home time is his own home time. No one can bother him. And they said you have to wear a suit to work. He dresses up in a tracksuit to go to work.
Damn. You know how
motherfucker is like,
you know how much big dick energy that man must have. That man has such big dick energy.
Dude, all right.
Drop it on him.
All right. We're laying this on them. All right. So big dick energy is some awesome piece shit back in the day.
BDE.
My second year.
Also TRDB.
Okay, this is that year, bro. This is that year. Fucking, we're track and reload, dropping bodies, and this motherfucker and we're at Myrtle Beach. We're fucking Myrtle Beach, and
just for background for everybody. So our coach Shandy, the school didn't sponsor any of our fucking events. Nothing. They paid for absolutely nothing for the cheer program, even though
they don't like us.
We gave them tens of thousands, not hundreds of thousands a year, in terms of games, football gaming, and as students. So they didn't sponsor anything. So we had to work
National Titans events
ourselves. We'd work that,
or
we would work Tennessee Titans events.
And cheer competitions.
We would work cheer around Tennessee. We would work the Nashville Predators.
We did so many things.
By the way,
we did so many things to fundraise for our.
So Myrtle, for the team. So we had to get money for the team so we could actually do. So we could actually go. Which was another event that we had.
Yeah.
So continue.
Okay, so basically Myrtle Beach is a camp we go to that allows us to get a bid to go to nationals. And so we're fucking goofy in the summer. We like train together. We do all these things. We spend time with each other. It's usually the first time the actual team's put together for the longest time. So this is me and George's second year, and like Kahari is our mascot, and we came up with this thing, and we called it the drop dick. And it was like you sit here, and like you end up putting your put your arm out like this, and you like do this motion right there. And so like it became
like
it became like a little thing between our
Nick
teeth.
Sternlyle size slong.
Hey, thanks, bro. Thanks. It's but
You might want to.
I'm dead. I'm not taking anything out. This is fucking on the internet. I don't give a shit. This is me, dude. Like I'm not gonna no one can discount who I am, never have, and have been able to ever. But so we have this fucking almost like little white elephant. It's our little secret. It's a thing. And so we're sitting there. Every time someone does this shit, we're laughing. No, this was our freshman year, wasn't it? Maybe this was our freshman year.
This was this year.
This was okay. We're yes. So we ended up. So Kahari ends up going in this mascot competition. Who can ever dance the best? And they all dance together. And we're at Kahari, and we're like shit. We're yelling
for this.
Do the drop dick,
dude.
We're yelling, do the drop dick, and like, so our coach did, shut the fuck up, just shut the fuck up, like you just need to shut the fuck up, stop this. You think they can't know about this shit?
You're embarrassing the program, all this other stuff.
And then Kahari comes out.
Is on stage in
mascot uniform, and he just walks out there, man. He's dancing, he's getting along, he's doing his thing, and he just goes, boom, 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 and like no one gets it. But Austin P just blasts off.
And we just fucking go wild.
Fucking popped up. We were fucking we ended up having to run after that. It was fucking oh my gosh.
Yeah, that shit was geeked. I don't know how the fuck we got on this topic of conversation.
Man, dude, it's been enjoyable, dude. This is what I want to do in my life, man. And it's like, and like, yeah. I know you enjoyed it. I've had a time of my life. And like, what's great about it is like, there's never, like, there's never end to it. I could do one of these with you until, like, I mean, we could do another one anytime. It's like, I don't have there's no rules to it. Like,
dude, I feel like we could go for like another 2 hours, seriously.
We could. And like, I mean, but at the end of the day too, like I could do this with anyone else and do it the same thing. And like, I don't think that what's so beautiful about it is that like, I'm creating the rules. There doesn't have to be boundaries. There doesn't have to be these things, but at the same time, it's like, how serious do you have to be in certain moments and how serious do you not have to be? How often do you have to be in this flow thing? And like,
you have to recognize, you have to play the game.
Exactly.
You have to play the game.
And that's what's so interesting.
And sometimes you can make the rules of the game your own. It is learning that.
Okay. So let's go finish your thing, and I'll jump into mine. It's learning that.
I was gonna say it's learning when you need to make the rules and when you need to play the rules of play the game as somebody else dictates the rules. That is one of the more important lessons.
Exactly, and I think one of the interesting things is like I have a couple of buddies that are on the same self-help thing right now. And like, I can't put myself to be in the same shoes they are in. I'm not someone that's going to put bullshit in people's asses. I'm here to have a good time. I'm not here for a long time. I'm here to tell people how I live my life and do my best to explain it in ways that they can actually benefit from. Exactly like a memoir, like honestly, Green Lights from Matthew McConaughey recently. Honestly, a fantastic book. I encourage you all to read it. My connection's unstable. My internet is not good, but it's important. I think that's the way I want to do things, and I'm not going to let, like, I see people putting challenges out and putting these things that's like, come do this and pay money. No, I want to build something around exactly what I believe in that doesn't fit the narrative as most of these people do. And that's what's I do write my own rules. I do have to follow the flow state. And I think that's what's the interesting things about it is like, it's really going, it's pioneering a way for something that no one's ever done. And like, don't get me wrong, people have done things similar, but I have to do it my way. And I'm not letting people considerably, it's that, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. And I think that in the whole statement that you just got, a lot of people are kind of like falling and get rich quick, get the secrets of Hollywood and how you get fit. And I know that's just a analogy, but it is kind of like the same. It's the same thing where you aren't going to, there are no quick paths to success, and somebody else's routine or to where you should be is not always going to align in your way of how in your path. And I would say that you probably shouldn't go out in age of people selling programs for this shit. You should not, don't pay the money, find yourself in the way that you will find yourself.
But you also have to be open
find yourself through.
You have to be open to finding yourself in many different ways. Find things that work for you, because that's really, and that's hard. Don't get me wrong. Everyone,
but do not trust the people. Don't trust the people that are going to sell you something that is.
Don't fully trust them at least.
Quickly.
Don't fully trust them at least.
Yeah.
Because there, of course, there's some right in a lot of people's things. But at the end of the day, just like me and George, we had a conversation. This could go on even a lot longer if we tie in religion to things. But
yeah.
But
fuck it, dude.
I don't care. We can keep going into this. But so here, I might need a drink in a second. Then I might need to get another drink and a snack. But
we can take it. We could.
Okay, real quick. Let me make this statement. We can go into it.
Take a second.
It's that. The thing is that society deems that you have to follow a certain set of rules, a certain set of beliefs. Whether that
they will subjugate you if you do not.
Yes,
and they will say that you're wrong to a certain extent if you don't.
And it's true. I mean, and like that follows through religion, that follows through anything you do. And at the end of the day, one of the things I'm trying to really reconcile with as I continue to find my spirituality and everything that I go into, and how I really can explain what I feel and what I think about, is your personal relationship with the things you're doing. And you have to be able to believe in that notion, in the path that you're on completely. It's like one of the things that I really don't like is we'll jump into that in a minute. Let's just take a break. All right. And we are back again. Jumping
back up in this bitch.
I like these little intermittent pauses. They're interesting. Oh, what did I say? You're on Wi-Fi. I just had to reset the whole wireless, and that was pretty interesting. But all right, so we're jumping into almost a religious background kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, I was talking about what I basically think I believe in, and I think one of the things that I've learned to come to as well is like I have to learn through my own experiences, and I actually have to try to find these things, and it's hard. It's talking conversations like this that actually develop those things as well.
Yeah.
And like a lot of people don't have these conversations, which is one of the reasons why I'll get into as well. But basically, I grew up in a place. I'm just gonna say the whole story. I'm gonna shorten down as pretty as possible. But grew up as a Catholic. Started questioning my beliefs in high school. Actually got involved with a group at a lunch table, which is funny because I'm now in a group called the Lunch Table in a Discord chat. Where that's my bros. George is part of that, so it's pretty cool. But we ended up questioning my beliefs. I almost became atheist for a point, then agnostic, and then I just didn't stop defining myself as something for a while because I didn't know. I just didn't want to question it. I didn't care. Then I started thinking almost in a spiritual sense, and I feel like a connection to something spiritual. It's definitely a higher power. I don't really know how to explain it, so I don't want to try to. But at the same time, I'm still questioning those beliefs and figuring out as I go. There's a lot of, I showed George the closest thing I can believe to what God could be is how Bender meets God. If y'all ever looked it up, but look up on YouTube, Bender meets God. That's one of the best accurate representations of God today by one of my buddies. His name is Jimmy, and he was a priest, and he went to school for it and things. It's pretty interesting. But
did he end up being a priest?
No, I don't think he was, but he went through school to do it.
Seminary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, very knowledgeable on those topics. And like, I had a lot of conversations that allowed me to develop in a certain way and thinking like in that extent. So I asked him this question. This is the reason why this video is important, which I urge you guys to go watch, because honestly, I really think it's valuable in today's time in trying to understand this thing I'm about to tell you. And I asked him I was questioning my religion based upon some things, me wanting to understand my actual religious belief for future purposes, for relationship things. And it was actually very great for what I was doing. But so I talked to him, and I was questioning about Christianity. I said, what is the best accurate representation of God today if he were to interact with human society? And that would really made me, that's a question I was really asking, because like how does he interact with people today? And like, I would love to learn some even more truth upon this line and be proven wrong and figure some other things out, because that's what I'm open to listening to these conversations because they're important. But what they basically said is that when Bender meets God, he became God for a little bit in the cartoon, and then he actually met God, and he was talking about how do you do things right? Because Bender did nothing at all and everyone begged for him. Then he did a whole bunch of stuff and everyone hated him. And then he's like, how do you be or do the right thing? And what God said back to Bender is, sometimes when you do the right thing, nobody knows you've done anything at all. And I was like, that's a very good, accurate representation of why, like, something that I could be led on the processes of the things that I'm doing because I'm falling in line with my flow, with my spirituality, whatever. And there's so many aspects that can work together. I just think that, I mean, we talked a whole bunch about, honestly, the interpretation of God's word
in our previous conversation.
Yeah. That's I think that's interesting too. And I think that people need to be able to have these conversations and be open about learning back and forth, you know?
Yeah. So I'll give my background too.
Okay.
So I was also baptized Catholic. My dad is definitely more, my dad's family is German, French, Irish, and my mom's family is German Irish for the majority of the lineage. So I come from a super Catholic family background.
Yeah.
But my mom and my dad didn't raise me that way. My dad is probably more in essence where he would probably, if he actually took the time, he would probably go back to Catholicism. My mom is not. So, and when I say that the church, I do mean the Catholic Church. We can interpret that to be the church as a whole. It depends on what denomination you're from, right?
Yeah.
Of Christianity, at least. But my parents didn't raise me in a religious house church a whole of like 3 times, 4 times, maybe within my entire childhood, and it was never with my parents. It was always with someone else. My aunt's a super Catholic. So I went through a time when going through my preteen, teenage years, where I was kind of like, as young men and women do, kind of like looking for something else to kind of guide you, something of a a leading figure other than your parents, right?
That's well, you look, because you start questioning their knowledge. Like, that's the time, like, I mean, you're up to that point, everything you believed there was true. So now you start figuring out things that society is. You're trying to find a way of.
And I hadn't learned anything about the church previously, Christianity as a whole. This, and my use of the church in that term would be like Christianity. So I was looking into like all the Eastern stuff and the stuff what you could kind of trace back to my heritage of like the everything like that. And so I was kind of sort of into Wicca for a while, and then I was kind of borderline going into Satanism. And then I fell away from that. It was just, there's a lot of stuff to read there, and most of it I'm sure is just total fucking bullshit.
This is real quick to jump in. Sorry, I don't want to take too much time away. I think you're talking about different stuff. This is something that I really interesting right now. Dr. Wayne Dyer, it's the Book of Tao. I've been doing some interesting reads in this, and I really do like the views, at least, that Taoism has brought from the time that I read. I've not read the whole thing, but I do really, really enjoy some of the things and how it makes you think.
Yeah.
Continue. Sorry.
Then I kind of fell away from the whole spiritual journey for a while until was no longer searching and kind of found a place when I was at school with Nick. And it kind of transferred into Christianity again, Wicca, and the exact opposite of Satanism. The exact opposite from Satanism. So and then when I moved up to Minnesota, so my fiance I took her to church a couple times, and she was like, "Oh, I don't really know if I am following this. He isn't really speaking to me." So I fell away from that and am an Orthodox Christian. So Catholicism and Orthodox, two heads of the same coin, essentially, with differences, kind of schismatic differences on both sides. But now I'm an Orthodox Christian.
Okay. So like that was much more in depth about both back of our stories than we even got to last time. And I think that's really interesting. Yeah. Like, is one of the things that I do see in religion that annoys me in the extent of society, almost, again, the same thing we're talking about, people putting pressures on other people, is that at the end of the day, I think that the most important thing you can do is have your own personal relationship with whatever being you believe in, God, whether you believe in whatever you believe in, doesn't matter. But you should have your own personal, really relationship with that no one, that can't be so heavily influenced in certain ways. And like, I think that it's so important that we have so many people that judge so many others based upon the personal relationship that you have with whatever that is, but they can never understand or put themselves in your shoes because of that, because you're the only one that can feel that way. And I hate that people judge so heavily based upon that, because I've seen it, and there's a lot of very interesting things out there as well, like where there's a lot of things that are very accepting to that same extent too. And like, it's very interesting to see how the world reacts to each other, especially like me. I live in the Bible Belt, dude. There's just a very different mindset that's just grown up around. I mean, the same thing up north. I guarantee you have different mindsets that you all coincide with a certain area.
Yeah, it is. And within Christianity in America, it is a very it isn't segregated by state. It's kind of segregated by where
regions.
It's kind of like different states have different regions, and then the majority of a state will make up a region that you consider a region. It's all this weird amalgamation of
why people moved out to an area for certain reasons, and then they grouped and spread out.
Yeah, exactly. So, and especially who populated that area in the South.
The Mormons are out in Utah.
That's very Mormons out in Utah, Southern. It don't have any Baptists in Wisconsin specifically.
My uncle's a Scientologist.
It's Lutheran. Oh, they on some other shit, and that shit is not okay.
I'm not part of it.
Do you want to know the history of Scientology?
I've
I'll give
seen
you
some
the quick.
videos.
I'll give you the spark notes. So L. Ron
Spark
Hubbard
notes.
was L. Ron Hubbard was a writer back, I think, in the 60s, and he was trying to self-diagnose his own problems. So he wrote this book. I can't remember what it was called, about this science fiction, this alien race that would inhabit you in what Christians or any other normal religion would think of demons, because there are all every other religion except Scientology has a weird twist. So he was trying to self-diagnose his own mental problems, and he interpreted those things as alien life forms inhabiting his body. And he also wrote a book previously, if I'm not getting this mistaken, about how you could fabricate a religion and make it so based off these tenets. That book, out of all his books, he was like the biggest, most unsuccessful science fiction writer ever. That book on him diagnosing his own problems took off. And with his book that he had proven how to create a religion, he took off with it. This is the religion that I'm going to create now. And that's how Scientology created, fabricated.
I definitely would be interested. I like, one of the things too is like, what I'm really interested in is like, as I develop this, or even as you or whatever people develop around interesting, is like, I see it on Joe Rogan all the time when it's like, so I'm excited for someone to watch this at some time in the future and then be like, dude, no, this is what it is. Like, or like jump into this, or even do more detail, or prove something right even further with a story. And like, this is storytelling, man.
I would tell anybody who likes these, look up the history of Scientology and then go watch Leah Remini podcasts on Joe Rogan to see what they're fucking up to nowadays. And it is unfucking real, the mental and emotional abuse that they put on these people based on like something that some fucking nut job in the 60s just made up.
Yeah. I feel that. I mean, he's happy. He's doing great. I don't know. But that's him. I'm not. It's crazy. I didn't feel that. I feel that.
It's nuts.
I think that like, what's interesting is like, there's the best way I can explain it, like from the experiences I had. Like, I don't know if you have those if you may be listening, or I'm just going to talk to George about this too. Is there's the book called The Golden Compass. They have the explanation of this is some spoilers if you don't want to if you don't listen to this. What I'll do is I'll do an X right here. I'll stop when I'm done with the X, so you can skip it if you want to read The Golden Compass. Moving on. No, I'm just fucking joking. Fuck you. You're gonna ruin this shit.
If you ain't you a sucker.
So basically, what the important thing is that, one second. Okay, cool. The important thing is that there's, instead of 3 elementary particles, electrons, protons, neutrons, they had 4. The 4th one's called dust, and what it is a coalescing mindset of basically being, and it has form and thought. And after, like gravity, it coalesced and it formed the first angels. The first angel ever formed was God. The rest of them that followed were his beings, and they ended up having a giant war or whatever. Okay. But the way that interacted to an extent is how I feel I've interacted with said God, said experience, said spiritual being from some certain moments I've had in my life. And what's interesting is like, I can relate to that. I feel like there's an energy that does surround everything. Like, I can feel it. I don't know. Does that make sense to an extent?
I think that you largely mix humanist and Christian theological principles with East religions thrown into the fucking melting pot.
Yeah.
And just shaken up, and like you pour it out and this is what comes out. Nick. Yeah. That's your theological belief right now, right there.
It is though.
I think with all the with all the AI stuff in a human trajectory, that's humanist, and then you have your Taoist and all that stuff kind of thrown in there, your Zen shit.
And yeah, no, I definitely live an interesting life.
Yeah.
No, but you're right. I think it's very interesting, but like one of the things that I definitely, no matter what it is, what I pride myself especially on being is just in general, like I'm trying to do good shit in the world. I'm kind to others. I spread love, and like those, like no matter what religion or anything you believe in, you're doing something right, man. And like I feel like there's a lot of people like that, and like you don't have to, like it doesn't always have to be like there are bad people in the world, but I think there's some good people out there doing like in their lanes doing some shit too.
I think I think there are good people that are doing good things. I think that where I would object would be if you are going to, so we have to kind of take this from a historical level too. If you are going to, the way that we record history as humans is the accounts of certain people from first-hand sources, and then from primary sources, and then secondary sources.
Okay. Yes.
And that's how we record all of human history. Those that were there, and those who heard it secondarily, and then you have to reconcile the secondary sources to kind of form the picture of what actually happened, right? The Old Testament and the New Testament specifically, are, if you are going to accept how we accept any of the most primarily and secondarily accepted source on the planet. And that's just, and it is like a historical fact. It is not objectionable.
Yeah.
So if we have these things, and we are going to accept that as fact, considering we're going to continue the same logic. And I think that a lot of people do not these days. They kind of pick and choose. Historians and archaeologists do this fucking time.
Dude, this
when they say
the depth of that we could go into too as well. Wow.
And this comes back. It isn't just a religious point. Like they like historical. a lot of Egyptologists just are going the art back in the 1920s when they were digging up like King Tut's tomb and doing all the excavations and stuff when Egypt was a British occupied territory. They posit that those beliefs as expounded over the past century as what is fact. And there is so of people saying that is fact, that any new interpretation kind of side. And you can sure, you can say that might be the same about when I talk about religion and my view of the Old Testament and New Testament. Sure. Well, we can have those conversations. I'm not well versed in them. However, you cannot say that there is always certain standard. So if you are going to hold a certain standard, and I do think that some of the new theories that modern archaeologists and modern Egyptologists are putting forward have a valid point and should be reconciled with what we know of the facts that came beforehand. But we can't discount the fact that back in the 1920s were just interpretations of what they saw. They weren't primary sources. They had no clue. So we actually have primary sources of Sumeria and Babylon and all these other Far East, the old people used to inhabit most frequently.
Have you heard anything
and
about
those? What was that?
I'll let you join. I'll let you continue. But have you heard about Göbekli Tepe?
Yeah, okay, that
cool. That's fucking wild, man. I just think it's
dude,
crazy.
it is wild.
It
is wild how they built all that stuff.
I just think humans are crazy. But continue.
They are. But what I was gonna kind of come back to and say is like, we have these, have this set of primary and secondary sources, and good sources too. They weren't like some drunk as a primary source, kind of trying to get some notoriety, like the Mormons. Call out the Mormons real quick. But shots fired. Yeah, that your man's was a fraud. But if you look back in history, that's kind of like, if we're going to accept any of the history that we have recorded today, I think that objectively you cannot discount what is recorded in the New Testament and the Old Testament. And I am a very objective person. I do find a lot of things in Wicca. That's why I got interested in all the stuff and the old Celtic gods and the old German gods. I went from Egyptian gods to Greek gods to Celtic gods to the old Norse gods. And I've kind of reconciled all these things. And I was like, okay, what is firsthand sources of what people actually saw? And the only one that actually exists is the Old Testament and the New Testament, of God actually existing in the world as a being or as a person. It is the only one.
I haven't done enough research to say yes or no.
I am 97% confident that what I'm saying is actually a fact, that it is the most testified to. If we are going to accept that, I don't know how I, as a person, and this is just me, I will try to convince people along the way. I'm not going to poke and prod, because that's what turned my mother off. And I wouldn't have convinced my fiance Cora to come to the Orthodox Church with me if I had done that. It certainly wouldn't have happened. I don't think that you should force anything on
I agree.
anybody else. However, I think that like we said in the first fucking half an hour, 45 minutes of this, a well-reasoned argument is better than a poorly reasoned argument with good intentions. And I tried to present a well-reasoned argument. So if we are going to accept those sources, why would we not accept this if it doesn't align with certain social and cultural faux pas that we are trying to accept today?
That's interesting.
Because I think largely today's society is not accepting of just Christian doctrine.
The Christian doctrine
and Jewish doctrine, Islamic doctrine specifically is super fucking out there. We're throwing gay people off buildings in Iran and Iraq today, and no one in today's world, in the Western world, would accept that to be the case. And I think that if you're going to kind of wrap that into a bundle, you cannot reject and accept a doctrine that is more extreme than a doctrine that is more specifically because it and political views, which is kind of what's going on today.
To an extent, yeah. I think it's definitely interesting. I think that are you talking about the separation of church and state, or are you just talking about like biases?
I'm more talking about culture.
So the biases against someone's religious standpoint doesn't matter what it is.
It's against specific, I would say, Judaism and Christianity, and welcoming of everything else. I think that is almost an objective fact, because if you look at the Islamic text, the Hadiths, and it will go from saying, the Prophet Muhammad will say that the people of the book, Christians and Jews, are correct. However, they are the most vile creatures on earth, et cetera, and expound on the most extreme forms of whatever Muhammad wanted to believe at a certain time.
I know there's real
people
quick to
today,
intervene.
especially in the
Real quick to intervene, like there. By the way, there's 2 books of the Quran. I think he's talking about one specific one that's talking about this, because I know there is a very peaceful one too. But I know
it's actually all wrapped up into one, and you have to take it as a whole. It's not like the Old Testament and the New Testament where it's kind of split between a wrathful God.
I'm listening, so I don't know enough. Just keep going.
Yeah, it's the Old Testament and the New Testament are kind of split between the Quran is Muhammad wanted to quote unquote interpret at the time. If you look back into the history of it, you can look at David Wood's channel on YouTube, Acts 17 Apologetics, to kind of get more background on this.
I would love it. Send me some. You got to send me a link to this after this.
Yeah, I will. He breaks it down in a good way. So does Vocab Malone and Sam Shamoon, Protestant guys. So I have no dog in the fight except for the truth of it. The problem is they are more you are accepting what is reasonably interpreted as a more of quote unquote the Old Testament and the New Testament, but you are trends that are incredibly less extreme. And that's what we're kind of seeing today. The Buddhist and Taoist and I wouldn't say Hinduist, but the Buddhist and the Taoist terms of how you should treat other people are way less extreme than the Islamic point of view. Okay. However, all those are more accepted than Christianity and Judaism in today's world, the culture and our politics. You can see it in pretty much all of today's media and all of today's social personalities.
Are you talking about Christianity?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, hands down. Very much so. I mean, I think it's very interesting. It's very much out there. Like, I grew up on it. Like, at the end of the day, like, I think one of the interesting things about, like, I don't mind certain things about it, especially, I guess this is just leading to this point, but like, I think it's definitely interesting, like when, dude, I see so many people talking about, like, I just think, especially for a country, and don't get me wrong, we were built on beliefs behind God and Christianity when we moved here back then, whatever, and moving into all
there's some debate, but there's some debate between whether the founders were deist or Christian.
Okay, didn't know that. No information. I'd have to research and find more, or even listen to, or whatever. But I think that, like, there's a lot of people that wish a lot of, like, that separation of church and state wasn't a fact in hardcore. I mean, and I
100%. Yeah, I think that any reasonable person should think that separation of church and state is a good thing. I do not think that you should force your views on anybody else.
I agree completely. And I just think I've seen people, like, especially in America, like down in the Bible Belt, they're like, this thing should not be happening. We definitely,
I know.
We need to get him to sit there and we need to pray on television. We got to make sure it happens.
Dude, oh my God, them televangelists get me fucking going. I have never seen some more demonic shit than them fucking televangelists.
I'm gonna cure the COVID.
Look like they're possessed.
We're gonna cure the COVID. Let's do a prayer. Ready?
Yes, exactly. But you get the exact opposite thing in the form of cultural, like, I would say, cultural revolution or cultural movement in other more liberal places.
Hands down.
You get the exact opposite. So you have two sides of the coin here. But at the same time, like, real quick,
at the same time, there's not just two sides of the coin. I can go any which direction. Like, there's mildly, and then it's just out of proportion. Can be anything.
Yes.
Continue.
Yes. I think that your delivery, like anything wise, is key. So what you believe in needed in a way that I don't think.
Stop. Repeat the last 10 seconds.
I don't think that anything that you communicate to a person on a business level, on a conversational level, on a relationship level, needs to be in such an aggressive manner. I think that it needs to be a conversation that you have. And like I said, like I've been saying this whole fucking podcast, a well-reasoned argument is better than a bad argument with good intentions or a bad argument with bad intentions. And I think both of those arguments are either bad arguments with good intentions or bad arguments with bad intentions.
I agree.
So we need to have conversations that are in the middle to get to where what I believe and what might never agree. And if it's something Christians would say, it doesn't really matter what your denomination, even a fuck televangelist like we were just talking about would probably say that you need to come to where I should be. I never, in the conversations that we have had, when is the last time that I have talked to you like they have spoken?
You've never spoken to me like that.
Exactly. And I never will. I will try to convince you of my point, and I think that it's important for you or important for anybody that's listening to this, but I'm not going to fucking shove it down your throat. I can base my cultural, my political, my society on that, but I'm not going to try to shove it down your throat. If you are to say things out the window and I'm going to shove my secular view of the world down your throat, you can't do that. We're not speaking on the same terms. You have to, if we're going to play the game on a certain realm of mutual respect, there's got to be that mutual respect given as well as taken.
Hell yeah.
Know what I mean?
Hell yeah. I mean, but that's,
and I think that's most of the issue today, where it's like the one side will give respect, and I'm not talking about do a poor job. I think that both need to moderate and have the conversation before yelling at somebody.
Well, I mean, it's like we were talking earlier. You just got to be willing to be wrong. You can't, like, being right's not fun all the time. It's not. It's lonely. It's lonely, and like.
But this is a point where we don't know if we're right. I believe that I'm right, and you believe that you're right, and both those beliefs are going to come to a head, and that's when the conversation comes in.
Look, I'm gonna tell you something that my grandpa swears by, and I swear by it too, because I found it was a really great thing. I'm never gonna lose a friend because of religion. I'm never gonna lose a friend because of politics. You can believe what you can believe what you believe in.
And even
just don't at the end of the day, don't come at me because I believe what I believe in. You can have normal conversations back and forth, and you can disagree, and you guys can try, but guess what? The beautiful part about that is if you disagree, you can go further in that conversation. You can find out why people believe in those things. You can find out where their actual truth lies in the mentalities of what they're thinking. And that's how you develop relationships. That's where people start to come together.
Right.
That's where unity is formed. Damn, that's powerful. That was some shit I just said. That's some shit.
Dude, yeah, it is though. And the perfect example is this is so, like, I would say probably back in August or something. Me and one of my friends up here had a conversation with a couple of our other mutual friends, and we were representing one side and they were representing the other. The conversation we have seen them at least a dozen, if not 20 times afterwards, and everything has been fine.
Yeah.
And we are still friends.
That's what matters though, dude. You gotta have people that care for you. You gotta have people that you care for.
Right.
Like it's just it's part of our nature. Goodness gracious. This has been a treat, man.
Yeah, it has. We should do it again.
Dude, hell yeah. I'm down. Anytime.
All right. Hey, y'all.
George, you gotta say goodbye.
It was good talking to y'all. I appreciate y'all listening to me ramble on for here. For not listening to me ramble on for 3.5 hours, but if you listen to the whole thing, thank you. And I hope to let you hear me talk in a little bit.
There you go. Nice. All right, wait, real quick. We need to do like a lean that way. Okay, cool. There you go. That's gonna be the last edit screen.
All right, dude.
All right, brother. Hey, dude. One second. Let me. Let's.
That was